Not on mute. Hello, 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 hello. Okay, that should be working. Can you hear me? Okay, hold on. Wow, no sound. Balls, balls, balls. What do we got? Yes? Yes? I don't know what that means. I can't see you. Oh, that means okay. Well, just tell me okay. If it's okay, there we go. Okay. Well, there you go, folks. So you got 3 hours of that coming if you stick with us. And I hope you will, because tonight's going to be awesome. We have a double header, 3-hour tour through the territory of the hairy man, the big man, Yeti, Sasquatch, Sage, Yeti, so many names. So who would go by so many names? Isn't it odd that people think only one thing would go be all of those things? So we're going to unravel that. But I'd like to say hi to everybody who's here. If I missed you, hey, Lindsay, how you feeling, darling? Glenn, welcome, welcome, welcome. I see Ronald's here waiting. We're going to bring him in. We have him for an hour tonight. And the second and third hour will be Sir Bryan Bowden coming in. Just it's like being at a Bigfoot rock concert, folks. Okay, so give me just a second here. Welcome, 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 everybody. Uncommon Belief. Thank you for the help. So mods, help me out tonight, and thank you so much, gatekeepers, for being here. We're gonna have a ball tonight, and this is the beginning of our spooky season. And what could possibly be better than having the crypto guru himself? And someone who's becoming a very good friend. He has a lovely family, a lovely disposition, impeccable research, time in, boots on the ground, experiencer, seeker of truth and knowledge. I give you Mr. Ron Murphy, everybody.
I hope I can live up to that, my dear. And I will tell you, your show and you yourself as a human being have become some of my favorite places to visit. And
Welcome home.
Absolutely. And the fine folks that tune in to listen to what we have to say
Right.
are some of the finest, most informed people as well too.
Right.
So as a little,
it makes it so fun.
It is so fun
because you can speak on a level. You don't have to spend the first hour of, let me explain to you what we're talking about here. You can just jump right in and just get all, just get just in it, and it's wonderful because everybody's on board. Everybody's already on the train. We've already been in the bar car for an hour. We're tipsy and ready to roll, man.
We're ready to roll. That's right. And I'm so glad to see that Bryan is going to be coming up after me. So to give you a little bit of behind the scenes stuff here, as much as I would love to be nothing more than a Bigfoot investigator and paranormal enthusiast, I also have a family, and I have a 17-year-old daughter that's going to be graduating next year, who just all of a sudden has decided to start padding her resume for extracurricular activities. And she's writing for the newspaper this year. And
Wonderful.
She has an event tonight that I have to take her to.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
The reason I'm only going to be here for an hour, folks, that is the reason. It's not because I wanted to call this short. It's because I wanted to get as much of this show in as I can. And I'm glad that my friend Bryan is able to.
Isn't it wonderful? You're already getting bacon slung right at your face, Ron.
No, well,
already, here comes the bacon.
Nice.
Already, here it comes. They love you. They understand. Family's so important. And I would like to take a moment myself. Please send out healing vibes. I have a sister this is her second time in the hospital in 2 weeks. And I believe she has some problems, with a blood clot issue. So if you could just focus some energy towards them, my dear sister, I won't say her name because, well, maybe I should, because it would definitely get her out of the bed so she could club me over the head for saying her name on the interwebs. But maybe I should do it, antagonize her to get up. But much love that way. And anybody who needs healing vibes tonight, we're going to have so much fun. Ron, thanks for being here, man. It's so hard getting all of this squished in your everyday life. But if you love it, you work it and you wedge it right in there,
Well, I wouldn't do this for just anybody. Let's put it that way,
He's so sweet.
So only to my most favorite people. But absolutely, it is a passion for me, and I love to hear your insights. I love to hear the audience's insights as well too. So check this out. I get as much from you guys as I share with you. So it's kind of a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's great to come in here and just, dip your toes in. This is like walking into a bar where everybody already knows your name, kind of like Paranormal Cheers. And you come in and, you could just sit down and get right in, the conversation. Like I said, in the deep end, you don't have to tiptoe down the shallow end and work your way over to the deep end. You can get into that ooey gooey goodness in the middle. And it's wonderful. And I wanted to go ahead, and I didn't do a lot of vids for your hour because I want to get you for that, just Ron packed for that, however you want to take it. Yeah. But as well as I do, we both know Bryan. And Bryan kind of introduced us, and Bryan and I connected first on the Native American vibe and that frequency, if you know what I'm saying. And that's what he jumped on as far as my energy and how I approach things, because I approached them from a vantage point of, let's not say it was right out on the front porch. It was more done in the back room, like a good game of poker. You know what I'm saying? Sure. Because everybody in the East didn't, in the time of my great-grandmother and my grandmother, and, coming into my mother's time, which would have been World War II-ish, teenage years, they could speak of it more. But my grandmother and great-grandmother was Lenape and Cherokee, and they hid that, I believe. So they would whisper things, and it was in the whispers, Ron, where you got the real wisdom, because it was one they cherry-picked to take the chance to tell you. If you get my drift, it's like, you don't tell them the magic, don't tell them nobody will believe you. They'll think you're crazy, and that you don't want anybody to let them know that you're Native American, because so many bad things were happening to people in the East Coast. I mean, let's just face it, right? So, one of the early things I remember was what I shared with you last time about, there are things in the woods that we don't speak of because they can hear you. Mm-hmm. There are things in the woods that not so much to be afraid, but respected, like everything else around. I mean, these are people, Ron, that go and collect herbs and only take 1/3 and leave 2/3. So there'll be more, so they look at everything a little differently. And when my grandmother told me that the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch, and to be honest, I can't remember what she called him, because it was more of a description, like the hairy man, the big man, and the wild man, things like this were said. I just don't want them to take you with them. And then they walk away and they don't talk about it anymore.
Right.
See?
Right.
And it was also a respect of placement of some, and this is also a piece of wisdom, some are gentle and kind and protectors and curators of nature, and others are of a meaner, more aggressive, protective stance.
Right.
This is what I grew up understanding. So everything hit me at a different, I took it in a different way, through different filters. Does it make any sense?
It certainly does. And what's so curious about this, your friends, I assume, are midnight or Midwest night watchers as well, too, right? I was just on the program minutes ago.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, literally
okay.
minutes ago. And we talked about something very,
there
very
we are.
similar.
Yes.
So we were talking about the idea of Bigfoot possibly being related to the elemental, right? The idea that Bigfoot is part of the earth itself, and the idea that it straddles the world of the Fae. Okay. I think that's an important starting point, because if you look at Native American cultures, Bigfoot was a spiritual creature as well, too. We are out there pounding on trees, looking for footprints, and the Native Americans, the First Nations people of Canada, the Native Americans of the Pacific Northwest, these were creatures to put on totem poles. These were creatures that act as a psychopompus to convey the souls of the dead to the afterlife. These creatures were much more than just a howl at night or a piece of hair left on a tree. They were
a people.
Actually, in our language, we probably don't have anything that comes similar to it. We have to paint them. Yeah, we have to paint them with anthropological motifs, because it just doesn't happen in our language, because we are so far removed from the natural world. That's
so true.
Yep. So,
Ron, you're talking to people not here tonight, of course. This is a different, this is the cream of the crop, in the paranormal, and the trying to understand open-mindedness of the whole thing, and sitting back, because they've realized a long time ago, along with myself, that the 40,000-foot view of the big picture. And the hardest thing for me in this, I think, growing up and trying to understand, we kind of sit back and just go, oh, that's the tip of the iceberg there. And you can't even handle the tip of the iceberg. Why are we separating this, let's just say hairy man, the big guy, the big man? Because I think Bigfoot is almost not a good enough name. It could be, my people always looked at it like the people. It's the people, however deep you want to get into DNA and bone structure and this and that, or facial thing, or missing link, it doesn't matter. The whole point is, we didn't look at them any different than the raccoons that lived in the woodpile, or the gophers or beaver that build the dam in the river, or the chickadee that warns the squirrels and everything else. In the nature has a way of making music.
That's a beautiful way. Nature has a way of defining itself without using words.
And we try to put our clunky words in there and our understanding of things. And this is also something, it's a broad brush of the genre of just taking what we would consider Bigfoot in mind, of also doing very much what we do to ghosts, Ron, is we put everything in a box and say, but ghosts can't do that, or this, all ghosts do this and all ghosts do that. Stop it. No, they don't. They're as individual as you. And I believe, and I was taught in that kind of Morse code kind of way, getting little pieces along the way, you put it together, you have fun with that. And, like, take me where? What are you talking about? And then you get the one that really keeps you up at night. They're half in the spiritual world and half here.
That's right.
Now,
That's right.
what does an 8-year-old mind do with that? But you can lean into it like, you know, a torpedo in a submarine, you know it's coming, and you can lean into it to try to keep it from imploding everything in your mind that you ever believed, or you can lean back and take a little gander at it and go, wow, it's all connected.
That's right. Exactly. And that interconnectivity is something that we in the modern world have gotten so far away from. Last time I was on your program, we talked about the idea of harmony and frequency, and
Yes.
everything in nature has this harmony, right? And we are created for that harmony. I mean, we have the idea of that harmony in every fiber of our being, but we have decided in our infinite wisdom to step outside of that harmony. So it's still there, but we have stepped out of it by choice. And now what we do is we look at the world around us that's still harmonious with the cosmos, and we think, oh, we see things that we can't explain. We call these things paranormal or supernatural. But in my opinion, they are as natural as you or I, but we do not understand because we stepped out of that. We stepped out of that frequency.
100%, 100%. I wish sometimes we could go higher than 100% because it just doesn't seem to work anymore. Like, it's almost like the word hero. We've overused it and it's lost its glitz, you know?
I do.
But,
Yeah.
you know, there's so many different names for the Bigfoot. And again, I really hate that, but I use it because people understand it. But I'm going to throughout the night start throwing out different names to get people used to it. It's not just, you know, the Sagway or Sasquatch or the Yeti. And again, a lot of these, like the Ibugogo and the Yowie and all of them. And then you talk to somebody who tells you, okay, they're only seen in northern America and, you know, in the very edges of Canada or some hooey like that. Bullshit. They're all over the globe. They're in culture throughout. Are they not, Ron?
They are, absolutely. So
even if there's just a little bit of difference, it doesn't matter. I think it's of a species. Like there'd be a difference in the coloration of a squirrel from Alabama to Northeast. I don't understand why we look at it differently, you know?
Right. Perfectly said. And I said in the book that I wrote on Wildman, tracking Bigfoot through history, I said they all have different names on different tongues, right? So whatever particular culture you're in. So, you know, the Chinese have the Yeren, the Russians have the Almasty, South America is the Mapinguari, Australia is the Yowie. So we have all these different names. And check this out. Remember, we were talking about our little magical time machine that we could drive all over the place. You know, if we would go back to medieval England, you know, merry old England, we would have a Sasquatch back there that they would call the Woodwose, you know, the person of the forest, because it was a belief at the time before deforestation tore the British Isles into nothingness that there were still wild men that inhabit the British Isles as well. And we hear that reverberate in some of the legends, some of the lores, but not only that, but we see them portrayed in church artifices and on architecture and in paintings and in marginalia of medieval manuscripts. We have the right there, the hairy man.
I'm doing it to you again, Ron.
And the tool culture, right? So we have this right here, and it's a great story. So this is one of those stories that blends so many things of what we're talking about. So in that particular area of the Pacific Northwest, it was believed that the moon itself descended to the earth and opened up and allowed these entities to come out into our world. So it almost seems as if we're talking about some sort of alien phenomenon going as well, too, right? But these creatures, these hairy wild men, they're seen as crying because we as human beings rejected them, right? They were part of the natural world. We saw them, we deemed them ugly or repulsive or whatever, and then we have now ostracized them to the periphery where they are now destined to live because
almost banished. Or shun, like a little Amish girl, for Pete's sakes, Ron. I mean, that's exactly it. And you know, I think that they also crave that connection that they had with certain native tribal, and I don't care where you're talking. Whether you want to say in Japan or on on the Delaware River or in Canada. I mean, when I say this, the native peoples had a connection with nature. Plain and simple. They lived in nature. That nature fed them. It sheltered them. It warned them of upcoming disasters, in different things, like being able to read caterpillars and things like this. Much of the same things that are still done in the Appalachians and other places like that. Reading, the way certain things grow, being able to predict the weather for the future, for the winter or the harvest or whatever. So you're so in tune with nature. Now, this picture here goes back so far, but I found it very interesting, Ron. The figure in the center seems to predict something to me, almost a human form, almost being lifted by some kind of spiritual energy that is swirling around them, either like an aura or an energy. And if you look around in the background, again, I don't know if it's distance or air, but it almost looks like some are floating down or flying, and the ones that are looking at it. And it's just an amazing thing. And the most amazing thing to me is that it's called the family in this language. And that's exactly how in the book I sent you, Cabin 22, the narration, and my listeners will understand. I try to explain this as closely as possible, how there are some that, and this is just what I believe. I speak matter of factly because this is just where I am after 50 years, and it's not arrogance or expert or anything like that. It's just, this is what I believe, is my opinion, my theory, where I'm at, and I'm comfortable there. But there's different groups. And again, like I said, the ghosts, where you have like maybe your aggressive ghost, or your ghost that's stuck in a loop. And then you have another ghost that's intelligent. Well, that's obviously different. It's of the same essence, the same core. But as you move away from that, there's a differential. So whether it's evolution as far as having to evolve with its surrounding, like a raccoon gets smarter and knows how to open a garden gate, because that's how you get to the garbage cans. It wasn't there last year. They had to figure it out, and you evolve over time. Even your bone structure, your hands, your thumbs, our teeth, everything evolved, adapts to its surroundings and what's happening. So I believe that some stayed and some can still go in and out. And I believe some of these time trippers, these interdimensional jumpers, however you want to say, if you look into some Indian cultures, every Native American culture, I can only speak for Native American, most have some idea of this being supernatural in some way, some more than others. And in some places, they describe them as aggressive. And in some places, they describe them as benign and gentle and helpful and kind and telepathic and sign language, even with some people, that there's an understanding and a boundary. And then there's this other more aggressive being that they're both, it seems like some are aware of. Now, have you heard of this and made that kind of, not really a grouping? I think that's even a small, too small a box to put it in, but the differentials between them. And I think that also plays on the confusion of human beings now, where they can't settle on something because they're trying to stick it in too small a box.
You're right, because it doesn't fit very nicely in any kind of box, right? This is like taking the square peg and trying to put it into the triangular hole, right?
Right.
So my opinion for this, as I look at Bigfoot legend and lore from around the world, Bigfoot, the creature identified as Bigfoot, was often the giver of culture, right? So we are thrust into this landscape. We have no hair to cover our skin. We have no big teeth, no big fingernails. We really shouldn't be here, right? And all the things out there that could kill us, the woolly mammoth, the saber-toothed tiger, all these things that we were coming into contact with, they should have killed us and wiped us off the face of the earth. But for some reason,
microorganisms,
yeah,
alone,
exactly.
alone, it is like a big guy.
for some reason we're still here.
Yeah.
So many cultures, and again, just not Native American cultures, but many cultures around the world see these creatures as a giver of culture, as something that steps in and provides us the means to live, some sort of knowledge, some sort of artifact, something to keep us going. Okay. I think that that is a cultural memory of when we were dealing with these creatures that we now call Bigfoot. Okay. Now, something incredible happens. These creatures called Homo sapiens now develop a brain, and they're able to control the world around them. And then they put up something called a wall, right?
Mm.
And once you're all behind the wall, that place where you lived, that forest where you're trying to eke out an existence, now becomes the place of nightmares, right?
Mm.
And the things that willingly stay behind and don't want any part of your culture become antithetical to what you are now. You're a civilized person, right? And so now everything that is outside of those walls is uncivilized and
a fear and a monster and scary, like the village, like M. Night Shyamalan's Village. They had all these people. It's a good movie if you haven't seen it, and I will try not to give you spoil. Well, I can't tell this without this. Cover your ears if you hadn't seen it. So they keep them all in this village, it's modern day times, and created the story of don't go outside the fence, the monster will eat you, yada yada. Of course, that was all a big psyop because it was, they were just trying to scare everybody. But fear keeps you in, Ron. And it works on large scales. And I think that because the natives were of the land, so whether it was in the deep woods of whatever in Canada, or in the East Coast, in New Hampshire, doesn't matter, Pennsylvania, doesn't matter, you're in the woods and you know what your surroundings are. You were born in there. You were surrounded by your people. You've been out hunting. You're a hunter-gatherer. You're walking these large distances. Believe me, people used to travel on their feet all the time. Look at Jesus. So I'm just saying, people moved. I mean, you wouldn't go on a hunting party, and be, just in, a football field away from your camp. You would be going for days, and you're wandering the woods, and you're coming in contact with the bear and the local flora and fauna of the area, right? So you know how to deal with the bear. You know what pisses the bear off. You know how to kill the bear if you've ever had to tangle with the bear. And all this is handed down over legend. But you also are handed down over legend the ones where there might be a group of hairy, large creatures that, in this case, say benign, that even will do, dare I say, even like trade-offs and gifts back and forth. So I grabbed this for you, Ron, because I really wanted to express to you, it was so important to me to express to you what I had learned from the little bits from my grandmother, never from the grandfathers or anything. It was all from the matriarchal, and which goes to Cherokee Lenape. It just kind of follows along. And I felt such a kinship to these things that when I went into the woods, and I will tell you my story after when I came face to face with one, but I felt them many times, and stuff more aggressive as well. But I could almost tell when I was in this, it was almost a staticky telepathy of, don't come too close. What are you doing? And me sending out, I'm not here to harm anything, which is what I do in nature anyway. But I think because I was sending that out, and that's the way I was taught, you could feel them so close yet so far. And it was just, I was taught to back up and leave, not to push forward. But if I had time, say, and was able to camp for a week and maybe get a little bit more, the same where I would if there was a stray coyote or wolf or a crow or something that needed to share a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, whatever, I'm just that way,
right.
But it's important to natives. Usually when I'll say a story, I'll get back, well, Navajos don't believe that. And these people, listen, this is the core. You have to look at this as more spiritual, and don't make it a religion, if you know what I'm saying. This is the spiritual core of the belief of a lot of people that are indigenous to wherever their surroundings. Okay, this is it. And some of you have seen this, but Ron's not seen it, and I wanted us to share it with him. So here you go, Ron. That's what we called them.
There is a vast area, natural forest that people have never seen before. And our elders have told us that there were beings that lived in the woods. Today we hear the word Bigfoot or Sasquatch, but in our Turkey history, in our culture, we call them unidentified, the mythical or the secluded tribe. Now, from
Means
the
so
cultural
much.
aspect of it, these creatures were put here by our creator, Unefana, and these beings were put here to help us. On our villages in ancient times, we had boundaries where we hunted and gathered, and we would present berries and edible roots at the edge of our boundaries as an offering to these creatures. And in return, these creatures would help us and protect us during our times of hunting and gathering. These beings existed a long time ago, and they do exist today. They're just not talked about as much. And some people get glimpses every now and
then. Isn't that beautiful?
That is absolutely gorgeous.
I mean, it just, I've literally got a tear in my eye because it's special.
It is. As much as it is poetic, it also strikes to the core that it's very naturalistic as well too. It just simply makes sense,
It does. And why wouldn't you? I mean, if you had a group of a pack of wolves living, or a pride of whatever, you would learn to assimilate, with them and what's going on. And when I think of that, Ron, I wanted to ask you, do you think some of these famous stories that we hear, and there's so many, I love the I was taken in by Bigfoot. I forget the gentleman's name. God bless him. But he escaped by giving him chewing tobacco, and distracted him. Just different things. I love all the stories and the boggy creeks and the whole shebang. Like I say, I look at them as different. I take them as almost like people. Mm-hmm. Where, there's some people I would, want to go hang out and have a beer with, and there's other people I wouldn't walk across the street, shake his hand. So that's just the way I look at them. And, it's so, in some cases, I think they do protect just because they don't want any chaos. It's not in their vibration, in their frequency to allow things other than, killing for food or this or that, but killing out of anger. I think the anger repels them and brings them in to stop it in a lot of ways. And I'm wondering if in some cases where they're seeing, like, say, the dog man, and the dog man is attacking, say, in like the what is it, the Land Between the Lakes or something like that, and then they're escaping, and then they see two Bigfoot creatures, or they hear the whistling and the knocking and things like that, and then they have an encounter with something and then see them like around the edges. I wonder if some of them aren't still trying to protect and sort it, but I think we've confused them because our vibration has gotten so low.
No, yeah. Oh, I think you've hit the nail on the head. We encounter them whenever we encroach into their dimension, right? That's their world. And the reason we come in contact with them is because we go into a place where we once belonged, but now we shun those areas. Like you said, the vibration is off. We're not supposed to be there anymore. We have given up that opportunity. It's almost like a fall from Eden. You know what I mean? We were given this paradise, and we've decided now that we will eat of the forbidden apple, which is knowledge, and which is thinking that we're better than everything else. And now we've left that world behind. Now, so we can say it like this. So is this true? This is two people, two talking heads talking. I don't know if I buy it. So let's go back to the earliest report in literature of what looks like a Bigfoot, okay?
Yeah.
And that would be the Epic of Gilgamesh. We talked about that a little bit on your last show. So contemporaneous with the pyramids, going back, to Mesopotamia, 6,000 years ago, The oral tradition probably goes back thousands of years before that. And we come in contact with a hairy wild man named Enkidu, but we don't come in contact with it until we go into its world, okay? And we see this creature alone being domesticated by forcible means, by humanity reaching out, grabbing it by the gruff of the neck, and then dragging it into our world. Right now, it becomes something other than what it was intended. It's now in our vibrational frequency, and it gives up its it becomes human and gives up its purpose. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now
almost physical, from a non-physical to a physical.
Absolutely. Now, what is interesting is Enkidu would be an interesting narrative if it was just simply that particular creature, right? But we also see another creature. Oh, that's Brian. There you go.
Love you, Sir Brian. Thank you, darling.
That's right. But we see another creature called Humbaba, right? Which is a great name. So we see this other creature, but it's not until the heroes of the Epic of Gilgamesh go deep into the cedar forests and start cutting down the trees do we see this wild man character come in. It said it had the roar of a bull bellowing. It could cause the earth to shake from its thunderous roars. It comes onto the scene and tries to get the humans out of there because they're destroying its forest, and then of course it is subsequently killed. But almost like the incidences that took place in the 1950s in the Pacific Northwest, we don't come in contact with these creatures until we go in there and we start plowing things over and cutting things down and bending nature to our will. That is so against what we are designed to be here for. That is so against the natural rhythm that these creatures now come out as a defense. So I think that that's what happens. I think whenever people get involvement with these things in a violent manner, or things that are reported in a violent manner, we are encroaching into a world that they inhabit, and they simply do not want to be taken advantage of and hurt by humans anymore.
Would you trust us, Ron? Would you trust us?
Absolutely.
If you could ask the Powhatans and the Delawares and the Lenape, all the people that were scattered along the shores in the coast of Florida on up, if they could do it again, you know what I'm saying? Right. Would they allowed the Vikings to get that close? Would they had? So do you blame them for throwing rocks at you when you're, going down and you're encroaching into their place? Now, again, when I speak of that, I feel almost like I'm speaking at it from the point of view of these are the ones who stay, but I believe they can go if they want via however you want to put it, portals, times, whatever, pick your poison. Because again, as 8-year-old, this is the first thing I'm hearing about what I would consider either, because it wasn't things like, say, like the Wendigo or the Skinwalkers or things like that they were talking about when they were telling me these things. Those, they would just, their facial structure would be different. They would be more scared. Whereas they're speaking of the big man, in some ways, big hairy brother, and different words that they had for it that way, was more of a respect it, the same as you would respect a cougar, or maybe not even that fear based like a predator type thing, but more of a raccoon or something along those lines,
Or how about even like a reverence you would show to a teacher?
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that because that's it too. And I think they are protectors of nature in that way. And may be responsible for the reason we still have a tree on this damn world.
That's true, because we've pushed them to the point where if we push anymore, there's not going to be anything left, right? That's just what's going to happen. But no, I think that what we're talking about here is definitely pertinent to talk about, even though it has a little bit of new age tinge. screw it, we still have to bring this up. So if you look at the Cherokee, they talked about the Laurel people and the Stone people. They talked very reverential towards them, but they also had, there was respect, but there's also this kind of understanding that they were just simply here, right? And they were so inherently part of the natural world, they take on the personifications of trees and rocks, right? So that's usually the common currency in these belief systems throughout the Pacific Northwest, throughout, whatever coast you're looking at, Canada, North America, what have you. Now, there are changes that we can also see, like in places like Lovelock Cave, right? Where we have conflict, right? So, as the legend goes, the Native Americans there were in a partnership with these creatures, and then we turned upon them, right? We, using that kind of commonality that we, as part of the human race, turned on them, went to the cave in which they inhabited, and we basically burned them to death. And humans and fire and burning things they don't understand, that's a pretty common
we're hideous
human race. Yeah, we're
right? The most disbehaved bastard line I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it just seems like we can never get enough. We have to have more. I mean, again, I don't want to put us in a box either, because there are groups. See what I did there? You can't say all humans are the same, because they're not. You have angry, aggressive psychopaths that are out there just plowing through, just carving their way to the top and never satisfied, power, hungry, more. And then you have the givers that are constantly giving and creating and cultivating and caretaking and, love and light giving. So again, that's all I'm asking tonight. If people can walk away after 3 hours and go, maybe we shouldn't put Bigfoot in a box. Maybe he's more than big feet. Maybe we need to stop having conversations about, let's capture one and poke it and see what happens. Let's take DNA. Let's, because again, I implore you, it is a waste of resources and time and chances to be with this creature that you're going about it wrong if your mindset is that way. In my opinion, like Ron said, what about teachers? Why are we not thinking, gee, why can't I make a nice apple pie and go out there and have a picnic and invite them along and see what they have to say, or the kindness? I mean, I swear to you, this is how a lot of Native Americans say in the Apache and how they choose a horse. Are you aware of this, Ron?
I have heard of this. Yes.
You sit and you put your energy out, and the horse chooses you. You don't go running at it like a banshee, or what were those berserkers that we turned into a bunch of berserkers. I'm going to go out in the woods with my big old rifle, and I'm going to catch me an old Bigfoot, and I'm going to put him in a cage, and I'm going to charge tickets. Come and see it. That's right. Why? Why would you even be thinking these things?
Well, another good point about this as well, too, whenever it comes to the Native American relationship with the hairy wild man, we shall say, it really does not turn for the worse until there is white influence. It's usually pretty good, and then guns are introduced, and the idea of money and wealth and property now enters this kind of culture that at one time was so open. So now what has happened is there is a corruption going on, right? So the corruption of humanity is continuing through European contact, and now the things that are wild are either a commodity or they're in the way of getting to something that they now value as precious, whether it be hunting lands or beaver or what have you. You know what I mean? It's something. It's something that really does fit a particular culture. Bigfoot doesn't do too well in capitalism, right? Bigfoot doesn't operate too well in communism. He's not a creature of socialism. He is a creature of the potlatch, right? He's the creature of the drum circles. he exists in places where the shaman speaks about oracles to those gathered around the fire, right? He's not part of our world. Yeah, he's not part of our world. We can every now and then connect with his world in some peripheral way, but we're never able to fully enter it because we gave that chance up a long time ago.
And that's something. And I would venture to say on to tag along with that, if you would allow me to, is that I would say for some of us, because there is a group of people, much of them, everyone here tonight, of course, and those listening, that are the keepers of that flame. And I believe we're here tonight, and in all of these shows, in and out, all these wonderful shows like Midnight and Nobubumi, and so many thousands and thousands of podcasts and books and lectures and paracons and everything, because we are seeking to receive that connection again. We all can feel like we're off. So we look to the cryptids, we look to the elementals, we look to the fairies and all of the folklore and the nostalgia of, I don't think it's just trying to get back to our childhood. I think it's almost we're trying to get back to our humanity.
Right.
And I don't know whether you're aware of the Hopi, and there's so many, the Iroquois, the Hopi, the different ones throughout, but the Hopi has always seemed to shine its light brightest in the prophecy area. And we've all heard of the white buffalo and this and the just all of the different things that, even if you're not into this, you've kind of heard. I got you just a second, Brian. I want to bring you right in. But the way I think we're trying to seek back to that humanity is because, like the Hopi said, they believe that the reason that they start seeing so many sightings and interaction is because that benevolent group, that the caretakers of not just life itself and nature, but of vibration and a frequency, I think this whole earth gives off. When we see them, it's because we are off kilter. We're out of balance. We have overrun the cup of greed and me, give me mine, and lost our way. And they are here to tell us that we are in danger of that pot over boiling if we do not get our center back. And I think a lot of us hear that call, Ron. And before we let you go tonight, and thank you again for being here, I hope I didn't take up too much of your.
Oh, no.
Like, I had so much I wanted to give you in this, not just receive, but I wanted to give you something tonight, right, the way we felt. But how do you feel about that? The timing of it all.
I was just going to say, hopefully one day you and I will be able to do a conference presentation together. I would absolutely love that. That would actually be a dream of mine, because what happens is whenever we go to conferences, we hear from guys who wear hats and have beards talking about their experiences that are usually a little bit sensational. Somebody getting shot, it's always a violent confrontation, because that's the way men are. They're full of machismo, they're full of this bravado. So they go out there and they want to tell you a story that has violence associated with it, antagonism associated with it. There needs to be somebody that steps up and says, there's more to this than confrontation. There's more to this than us versus them.
There's more to it than Bigfeet.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let me bring Mr. Sir Bryan Bowden, everybody. I wanted to bring him in for the last about 8 minutes we have with Ron here. So come on in here, darling.
Oh, just coming for you, Murphy.
I told you guys.
Been a while, by the way. Been a while.
3-hour tour. What a great, and see, it's working already. He's bringing us all back together. Do you see? This is the humanity of it. The vibration in here is so wonderful and so high, and this whole thing. But I wanted to tell you, Ron, before I let you go, my story. You want to hear it? Face to face. Okay. So I'm going to tell you just like it happened, because I don't know what parts are important. Driving along, you have to picture it. This is about, I think my son in the car in the passenger seat was about 11, 12, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And I'm driving, it's just getting dusk, and we are driving down Elkwood Section Road, which ran the parallel with the border of Alabama, North Alabama, and southern Tennessee.
Mm.
There are cornfields on both sides. And when I say right up to the road, I do mean right up to the road, baby. There was no gutter. There was no side. There was no bicycle path. So when you're riding along, you could almost reach out and grab the stalks as you go by. Okay. So you're always driving at a pace where you're expecting a deer, a kid, cat, something, dog running out. So you're chugging, so you'd maybe even do a 35, 40, which was a lot for this. And I get that feeling of something's going to run out in front of me. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm feeling something approaching me and I don't know what it is. And I'm slowing down. I'm decelerating like crazy now because I don't know where it's coming from. I finally get it that it's coming at me from my right, and I'm feeling it's a deer because I can kind of feel the size of the energy. I know it sounds weird, but that's what I was feeling. And it was just an approaching feeling, the same you would get somebody's watching me in the shower, that kind of feeling. Something's coming, something's up. And as I'm getting closer, it seemed like everything kind of almost slowed down for me a little bit to where it almost got in a tunnel kind of sound feeling as I'm approaching it. And everything started happening almost in slow motion. Even though I was going slower, it was more than that. And to my right, which would be the only thing between me and it, would have been my son, because it's on the passenger side. As we're passing, I could feel this overwhelming sadness. Not sadness as, it was a different kind. It was a longing, a melancholy, a heavy, heavy feeling of just extreme sadness. And I felt this with a group of deer running. They're in fear, running away from something, hunter, whatever. That wasn't it. It was different. It was a deep melancholia. That's the only way I can explain it. And as we're approaching, I turn my head to look because I see a separation in the corn, and standing about 4.5 feet, very broad shouldered from what I could see. Now I'm getting it a little bit before the car and through the window of the passenger with my son's head also looking right at its face. And immediately I see this, everything in me, my mom overrides this because it's, oh my God, it's between. My son is the closest thing to this, so I had that I was dealing with, very quickly processing. But the sadness, now I've got a little bit of chest. The skin was very elephanty, like I would say a dark, I can't tell you exactly the color, very dark gray, if not black, but somewhat shiny, sparsely haired, like a gorilla would be almost, but very hairy all everywhere else from what I could see. The face, I got a full look, right face to face, total sadness, and I still remember the glistening gray of the inside of its lip as the lip came down. Really, I can't even do it, the big pout. But it felt more like a pout, like it sat like that.
Wow.
But the whole face was just so sad, and I caught eye to eye. And I couldn't tell you the color of the eyes, they were dark. They weren't like bright blue or white, red or anything like that. They were just eyes, but so sad. And I caught that look. And then that's when it hit me. My son was the closest one to it. Window was up, but still, that I sped off. But I promise you, Ron, he looks at me and said, "You saw that, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I saw it." And I'm in full mom mode, get my kid away from this, because right away I'm thinking, where's the mother?
Yeah.
That was my Bigfoot the day I met Bigfoot.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And the other thing about that as well, too, is even though it was a frightening encounter, you still shared that commonality, didn't you? You
telepathic.
Exactly. That connection was there. And as I said before on the last show that we did, I think that whenever we have experiences, there is that agreement, whether it's spoken or unspoken, between that which is being experienced and the experiencer. There is that necessary connection, that conduit of energy that has to be allowed to be open on both sides for the current to run. And I think that you are gifted these things. A lot of people don't see them as gifting, but you are involved in a revelation that very few people are awarded.
That's so cool. And I did, and I look at it like that, Ron, because I think if my son hadn't been between us and my mother instinct, my intuition, my stuff didn't kick in, override all that, it would have been turned more toward this, trying to help him. And I would have sat there and tried to tell. I probably would have gotten at a fair good distance and tried to ease it down and talk to it telepathically. What a moment that could have been either way. But I think that they read you, Ron, and there's a lot of cultures see it that way too. The tribal cultures say they choose who they appear to and who they do not.
Right. No,
I think that's so cool.
Yeah, I do too. And it's a perfect segue there, Cisco, because as you talked about children, the reason I have to leave you now is because of children. That's right. That's right.
It's been wonderful. Tell us where you're going to be. Tell us where you're going to be. And you're coming back. You're coming back again. We're going to do Dogman next time for the Halloween bash. All right. We are going to do the Dogman, and boy, is that going to be a show.
Dogman.
So, yeah.
Well, it was funny because another segue is I've actually, that picture that you drew of what this creature looked like, I've actually seen that on Ron's OnlyFans page.
Cool. I didn't draw it. I saw it, and when I saw its face, I said, "That's what I saw."
He's trying to connect these women.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
$25 a month.
So
it's totally worth it, by the way.
That's
we love you.
I do.
Where are you going to be? Where are you going to be?
All right. So the final Saturday of this month, I will be in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. So if anybody's there, I'm going to be talking about the connection between the paranormal and Bigfoot. A little bit what we were talking about here tonight.
Right.
And then the 13th of October, I will be in Harlan, Kentucky, talking about vampires down there. So
wonderful.
I'm looking forward to it, guys. Yeah. And again, I would have to tell these fine folks over here in your chat room, I feel so
give them the bacon.
That I have the bacon. And Brian, I used
how cool is this though?
We don't see each other very often anymore.
No, we don't.
Maybe Brian and I could be, maybe we could come and double team that Dogman whenever we do that.
Let's do it. Another triple header, a 3-hour tour, a double header with some of the best heads in here, and let's do it together. And it's going to be wonderful. Thank you, Ron, and much luck. I think she's going to be a wonderful writer. You tell her to go get them.
Well, she wants to be a doctor.
Oh, she wants to be a doctor.
Yeah, she wants to be a doctor. So she's padding her resume right now by becoming writing for the school newspaper because she waited to the very last minute to do extracurricular activities.
Well, you tell her there's many a good medicine man in the Bigfoot community. She might want to look there for some answers.
I will do that. Guys, thank you so much.
Bye, sweetheart. Have a wonderful evening.
Ooh.
Hi, sweetie.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing? Woo, boy, that was a fun hour. That went by so fast. I feel like I'm on. I was talking so fast.
Super knowledgeable about every. They don't call him the cryptid guru for nothing because
so much fun.
And it's like, and if you really want to learn a lot more, also, and you want to do something that most people don't do these days, read. I would definitely pick up. He has a plethora of books, and they're incredible. They are, a lot of information. And it's for some people, it may be a little bit too much for them, but slow digestion, and they're great.
They're great. We did a little video, and I'll play that on the way out of all the different books that Ron has. And I'll tell you something, Bryan has a lot of good books and things out there too. So listen, and podcasts and interviews and stories and lectures and seminars. So this is a night, guys, where a lot of people stand in line to get autographed, do all this different stuff. Listen, this is us kicking back, having a good time. I got the new library behind me, Bri. Look, this is amazing. Yes, I have read all the books behind me. It's all that knowledge is seeped right in here.
Exactly.
But I thought it would be nice. And again, I want to thank you for coming in. It was great that Ron, this came up last minute, and, that's wonderful. Family comes first. And boy, if you got a family that lets you fit the paranormal, and a lot of these people think we're crazy, guys, believe it or not. And they don't understand why we want to go tramping around in the woods, and, why we have machetes and why we have claymore mines, under the desk and things like that. It's because we're part of the real world. But here's the thing. Tonight, Sir Bryan and I, We for years we've been talking about stuff going on behind the scenes and all of these underlying layers of things, and the spiritual warfare going on. We're very adept to it. We've been riding that current baby for a long time. We're in the bar car on that train.
100% in the bar car.
100% in the bar car, and we're back there just throwing back shots and beers and just laughing, smoking the best cigars, having a ball watching this show. I'm telling you. But there's some things we can learn at this time, and Ron and I touched on it a little bit, and I don't know if you caught this, Bri, but I was touching a little bit about on what the Hopi said, and so many of the Native American tribes. If you look into the legend and lore that's been handed down, and believe me, there's something in every story. They're not 100%. Just cute little parables, Yeah. So they speak of the sightings, and when a lot of the hairy man, the big brother, or the wild man, whatever different names they had, the language was what picked it, that when they showed up, the world was in distress. We were getting out of hand. The vibration was off. The frequency was out of whack. The balance was twisted, and we were in trouble. And like I said, the boiling over, if we did not tune in and fix it. And you can add that to what a lot of us in this chat, and what I know Bryan and I have felt, something wicked this way comes. So we just put on the armor and sharpened up the weapons, and we focused in and started. You focus in and you pull out for that 50,000 foot view, and you go, what's going on here? And we see it clearly. And I'm telling you, I don't just think that the amount of sightings of these, whatever you want to say, cryptids, mysterious creatures, whatever, that's a broad brush, but follow me through. I don't think it's a mistake that the sightings are up now. And I don't just think it's because of the internet and the phones and the cameras. I do think that has something to do with it. But if you look at it this way, for every story you might hear, for every picture you may see on the internet, for every video or fast catch, how many do you think of people that are experiencing things that don't say a word? At this point, I'd say for every one you see, there's probably a dozen that you don't hear about.
Oh, more than a dozen.
If not, right. Okay. I didn't want to overstate, but I feel that's true too. Because even though the times have changed, the decades have brought us to a more open mouthed. I wouldn't say open minded. I would say speaking more about it.
Yeah.
I think it's the times we are in as well that is escalating both the light side and the dark, whether it's a calling in and a bringing in or a needing to show up. That's where I'm at.
I think you're at, okay, so we're at a point right now where you want to call it light and dark. You can call it light and dark, good and evil, God and the devil, whatever you want. But there are individuals that are on the dark side, and they ain't Darth Vader, and they're doing a lot of stuff in the satanic activity zone. And what they're trying to do is call God's hand. And they're doing everything in their power to screw him over. Mm-hmm. And that's what's really going on. And
it is that light and dark. It is that light and dark.
100% light and dark.
And that the beings of light are coming out, but you have to understand, not everything aggressive. And I'm just, pardon me here for 1 second. I just want to make this point. Not everything. There are benign creatures of this ilk, but there are also in a more of aggressive fighter warrior type. And I don't understand why people have a hard time wrapping their minds around that, because again, have you been to Walmart? Everybody in there is different. Everybody at the grocery store is different. Everybody at the bar you go to is different. You've got some beasts and you've got some quiet, shy people. I just want to have a good time and be left alone.
Yeah.
Why is Bigfoot or the hairy man or Sasquatch different? So there is this warrior protective, very much like the dog soldiers were to the Cheyenne, like, the warriors were to the more benevolent hunter gatherers. So it once you let that go, you can absorb some of the other things that Bryan's going to bring to the table, and understanding that the universe vibrates at a certain frequency and everybody vibrates. So whether you're talking about here now, you can feel it below the line, the heavy vibrations, you feel shitty. Up here, when you're laughing and having a good time, you feel good. That's not hard to understand. And it's the same with vibrations, right? With these creatures and what they're drawn to and why they're drawn in.
And some of it's important because you pretty much are spot on. I can share this if you want, but there's something that is very, very important to the world, and that is there is a frequency to the earth called the human resonance. And this is this is recent and very chaotic. It doesn't look like that. It's not even supposed to be remotely close to that. That was recently. And I think this was before the Maui thing. Mm-hmm. And this is absolutely chaotic. Now, some people are going to blow it off saying, oh, the Russian group that does the resonance recording, their antennas are it's all amateur, and they use different types of copper, and it was crisscross. No. You can check the human resonance on a daily basis, and I'm going to stop sharing this, and you'll see that there are different wavelengths to the resonance. There's a sound that comes off the human resonance, and it's the sound of the earth. Roughly is 7.83 hertz, and that basically it corresponding to the Earth's circumference, and is literally the heartbeat of the pulse of the Earth.
And that's everything included, guys.
Everything.
That's everything from the magma of the center on out. Don't give me the flat Earth now. That's not what I mean. I'm saying from the center resonating outward and then bouncing off and coming back, and all of the energy in between. So that's every living being, from the ant to the microorganism to the ant to the bird that eats the ant to the plants that breathe out oxygen for us and takes in our carbon dioxide. Bryan and I shared a wonderful experience. We talked about it last time about the tree. I had to go up and get permission from the tree to absorb all the negativity that we were going to surround it with. And it gave permission. We gave an offering to it. And then everybody stood around and basically put all of their negativity into the ground. It filtered through the tree, came back up, pulled it back out, cleansed and refurbished, basically, of this good positive energy. And everybody there felt it. So everything that we do, and this is why we talk about loosh. This is why we talk about fear frequencies and people being scared and in a panic. And what Bryan is showing you here is those layers being so off.
Yeah.
Because there's this chaotic build of emotion and vibration that's becoming a crescendo. And all of us are trying to filter that like that tree.
Yeah.
It is really incredible.
It's pretty damn interesting. I'm trying to find this other thing I want to share because
why you do that? I wanted to share this with you. So why I did that when I wanted to bring in everybody and do an arrow with Ron and then bring you on. I did do a little video, and before we really start talking about the vibrations and the frequency and what we think about Bigfoot, how he gets in and out and all this, I wanted to share with Bryan, because when Bryan and I first met, what he first was drawn to me, I believe it wasn't my big mouth. Was I was trying to connect in. I'm trying to keep that native vibe alive. And I think a lot of us are trying to do that by hanging on to certain culture and traditions. We all do it all the time. We do it all the time. Every time you bring out, and happy New Year to you, my friend. This weekend was very important for a new year. Day. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Celebrate that. And just all of this, but this is the thing. We all have these little mile markers in the year that we go in and we pull out the Christmas ornaments and grandma's, gingerbread cookie dough that she made or whatever, and hang it on the tree. And we always reach back to those happy times, those happy vibrations, and cling to the memories that make us feel like we're here. we experienced something. This is proof. We're looking at things that prove that we were there. We experienced that moment in that Christmas when grandma first hung it on the tree or whatever. All of these things, if you think about it like that, and you think about the earth and how you feel when you go to a national park and you get out of the car and you get off that highway and you make that turn, you go up that dirt gravel road and pavement turns into dirt, and you get out there, you get out the car, and the further away you get from the car and all the things that remind you of your daily life, whatever that might be, you start to feel it drip away. And you start to come back to nature and you start to get back into that vibration. That vibration that you feel when you get into the woods like that, in the country or your garden, that
Right.
sanctuary, when you feel that, you feel the vibration, you start to feel a fragment of the vibration that Bryan and I are talking about, that these things, these creatures, people, ride on.
Yep.
And the earth's heartbeat, all of these things used to be in synchronicity. And it's like you had this wonderful jam going on. We're all musicians. You and I are musicians. You had a wonderful jam going on the stage, and some drunk asshole with a saxophone gets on there and starts playing out of key and ruins the whole thing. Well, humanity is the drunk asshole saxophone player and the harmonica player that shows up at the third set and ruins everything. And now you can't even tell the music that was playing on the stage, and everybody's uncomfortable and out of sorts. That's where we are.
Yep.
We got to shut the saxophone player and the harmonica player up.
Well, it depends. If you're at a blues show, you know, the harp.
If they're playing out of tune, they're not even playing the same song, Brian. Get them off the stage. It's like Tuesday night karaoke, and you know, it's and half the people have already gone home, and there's that one guy singing Some Beach, and that, you know, or what's worse, what was that one? There's this. Okay, I was bartending. I was bartending to karaoke Tuesdays, and it's glass of ice water night. Okay, and $1 tip. God bless them. And they all come in, the regulars, and they do the song. You know, their song. And this guy gets up, overhauls, just got off his John Deere. I swear it was parked in the parking lot. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But he gets up and he's got his beer and he's just so drunk already. And he's swinging it, emphasizing with a mug of beer as he's singing this song. And we're watching beer fly in each direction a little bit at a time. And he doesn't pay any attention. There is a house in New Orleans. It was terrible. It's terrible. Beer everywhere. At the very end, there was a little bit left. And he chugged it down and slammed it on the bar stool and left. It was the best thing I ever saw. So anyway, here's a video. You gotta, oh, wait a minute, that's the wrong one. That's a good one, by the way.
Slow it down.
Here we go. Here we go. Oh my God, it was so funny, but now I got a cough. All right, here we go. Happy Halloween!
Oh, yeah.
That was good, wasn't it? I think you're going to like this, Brian. was just saying, I love this picture. Look at that, Brian. To me, it feels like that's the human being. And somehow they're either enveloping them and swirling them with a type of energy or a aura depicted. I don't know. What do you get when you see this?
Right off the bat, I'm getting infrasound.
Yeah.
And just before communication or to kind of try to scare them off. It could go either way. It depends on the, I wasn't there for this specifics, but that's based on an event that took place. That's why they created this. This wasn't imagination. So something took place.
And I love the different colors. And I'm wondering, the light and the dark here, some are coming up the light and some of the dark. And Ron was saying there's tears, particularly because they were shunned, almost like, a little Amish girl out of the village, whatever.
Right.
And, that kind of thing. But what I got from it, my first vibe when I saw it and started looking into this and different things, that this isn't the only cave that had the pictures like this. Hey, Salvador, welcome in. Hey, Lulu. It was the fact that the people who drew it called it the family.
Well,
that meant the world to me.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm seeing here.
You know what I'm saying?
So
Incredible.
Seeing the large male who is darker. I'm seeing the female who is lighter and smaller.
Okay. Yes.
And I'm seeing the baby, and then something else that's there that may be part of it.
Some kind of fly in here. They're looking at this. I don't know what this is. This was something that was different to me, but I love the whole idea of there's energy and light brought here and a light and dark on either side. And I just found it fascinating. And I love the fact that it's called the family, which fits in with all the Native American that I was taught in the area, which would be the Northeast, of the more benevolent, but always warned of the protectors.
If you
more aggressive,
something you showed in there, which is interesting, and that keyed in something that I have. You showed a 14-inch footprint.
Right.
So this was discovered by me in upstate New York, near Red Hook, and it is a 19-inch,
wow,
19.5-inch print.
Wow. Okay. That's a big one.
That's a big boy.
That's a big boy. And like they were saying there too, the depth of that. So the depth of it too, the weight, considering, what was the earth like, and the softness of the earth and whatever it was in.
Well, let me set this. The scene is we're on top of a little bridge. There's a little stream that goes underneath the bridge, and the sides of it have these embankments that go up about 30, 40, 45 degree, 30 degree, and it's about 6 feet up. So you'd have to hike down it. This creature took one step from that embankment, one full step, boom, hit the water, the river right there, left that impression flat. And then the next step was in the river further away, because there was a stream that goes into a river. And we're looking at it. I'm like, look at that. And I walked, I mean, I had to climb down from there, and it's a 6-foot embankment. This creature is at minimum 9 feet tall.
It's incredible. And see, people,
1,000 pounds easy.
Yeah, it had to be
easy.
Incredible. I find it fascinating. I don't understand why people even question these things exist. I'm way past. It's like Oswald was, a lone shooter. I'm at that with this. Like, excuse me. What, when you say something like that to me, something like that to me, that's all I need to know. I'm done, because I can't deal with that kind of.
What'd you say?
I can't, that kind of cognitive,
Well,
I can't.
Here's the thing. When we met, and we were chatting on someone else brought us all together, and I just connected.
Yeah.
You are not shy, and I love that about you. I love, it was honestly meeting Cisco was like, yeah, we're definitely freaking related. I don't know.
Yeah, it had to be some sister from another mister. Well, he kept saying another mister, and I'll go, wait a minute, you haven't met my father.
Wow.
You don't understand. Could have been the same guy. Could have been the same guy.
And
bless his heart, he was what he was.
My dad always said that he thought his mother was Native American. She had high cheekbones, that red, like darkish skin, almond eyes, jet black hair, right?
Yep.
I will not do a DNA test because, well, I did one and it said I was 100% fucking awesome, but I recommend you don't do those.
You can't. Oh, there's some underlying shit to go with those. Let me tell you. And I've been saying that since day one.
Yeah.
Day one.
And both the companies are now owned by BlackRock. And that's a totally different story.
They own everything. Oh my God.
It's great you found out you have a little Irish and a little African in you and whatever.
Yeah, I got a little
now
Scottish.
Your insurance companies know exactly what cancers you're opposed to.
Phil and Not Live. I'll never forget it. The double live album, Thin Lizzy. And he says, any of you girls got a little Irish in you? Any of you girls? Never mind. All right, let me finish playing this.
Yes.
I'm going to get some hot water.
You got it. Go finish playing and get water. Hey, Jessica. I see you there, lady.
So cute. He's cute too. You ever hear about this one, Brian? Look at the Indian Army. They found the footprints.
Oh yeah, no, I know the yeah.
The bar. On the Yeti. That was my favorite part. I'd be pissed if I was cold too. That's all I gotta say. It's cold, man. interesting.
Oh, we're gonna get some of this. Yep.
There it is, Bryan.
Yeah.
Balance of existence. That's what I've been saying. Mic drop for old Bigfoot. I love that he's stopping. You know? He chooses who he appears to.
You can get into that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true. They read intent like everybody else. You know? Yep. Good luck, guys. That's fine. That's what my nana told me.
100% correct.
That's what I was told when I was 8.
Did they tell you not to go in the woods?
Yeah. And I found this part very interesting. And he's not the only one, folks.
No, he's not. He's a big name, though.
Right through the portals. Like you walk through a door.
We can get into this.
Yep.
There's a connection, but it's not what you think. Yeah.
He's feeling good about himself now, isn't he? Hey, AJK. Welcome in, kiddo. I love this. Yep. Even longer.
Yeah.
Even longer. And they see you doing stupid shit, like putting on costumes and running around in the woods and act like a Bigfoot. Exactly.
Exactly. So you know, you put something up there.
Silly humans.
The Patterson
so much
Gilliam
more than
film.
Bigfeet. Yep. We'll get into it just a
one of
second.
the-
It's almost out. It's just fixing to
Even
get
yourself,
loud.
even no one else will. Love this quote.
Yeah, I bet.
Yep.
And this is the accolades to the beautiful musicians that were part of this. Unicorn Head, Psychic Music, and Kevin MacLeod, Hall of Mountain
Cool.
Kings.
This was good stuff. I like the music.
I know. It's hard for us producers nowadays. You got to find stuff that they're willing to let you use.
You gotta give people, their 2 cents. Help them out.
Happy Halloween, guys. It's the beginning of spooky time. Here it comes. Here it comes. I'm so excited. There you go. Whoops. Okay. So there you go. Talk away, baby.
Okay, so here's, to this day, my personal opinion, the best ever evidence of a Bigfoot is the Patterson-Gimlin film, and I'll explain why.
I like it too. Always
There's
have.
multiple reasons why, but let's go into it, okay? We're talking about sound frequency, vibration, and resonance, okay? When you talk about this, there are things you can do with sound where you can actually, through sound, draw energy, pull energy. You can use energy to make another form of energy from sound waves, even infrasound, okay? And if you're a creature that can manipulate energy, sound frequency, vibration, energy, and manipulate your molecular structure.
Yes.
And what you're going to do is you're going to draw on any source to convert that energy, because it takes more energy to create or convert energy than exists. So you need more energy to do something. And the reason why a ton of people have these blob squatch photos and these, there's two reasons. I started off in the camp of this is Gigantopithecus, the missing link, blah, 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 flesh and blood. Then 2015 on an investigation, that all changed because this Bigfoot went from no more than 20 feet in front of me in the dark to the other end of a lake, which is about 2 miles away, in a second, less than a split second. And as a person who has studied physics and astrophysics and quantum physics in the beginning, and you can't, the only way you can go from point A to point B is if you open up a door, walk in it, and go exactly where you want to do, and you can dial in a portal. And I think this creature can do it. Okay. The reason why the Patterson-Gimlin film is so good is because there was zero electronics used in that film. That's
the thing. And you're going to hear it. And AJ, I hear you. But here's the deal. Steve Stockton and I did an episode on this about a year, maybe two back. And we really dug into the Patterson-Gimlin film. And I brought up 3 or 4, I think it was 4, it could have even been 5, different pieces of documentary around the time, which would have been in the early 70s. It happened in 67. They started really publicized 68, 69. I think it was 60. Yeah, somewhere right in there.
It was like late 60s, early 70s.
Right.
When this happened.
So all the documentaries started coming out early 70-ish and late in the 70s because it was that time. It was the
Patterson film, and then all this stuff started. Leonard Nimoy, blah blah blah.
Right.
70s.
And they're all everybody's trying to disprove it. And then you've got people that are trying to prove it. So when it's just like anything else, when you really dig in, like look at how I looked at Lincoln. I went back and I said his mother died of milk poisoning from a cow. She went to help her cousins in another farm a couple farms down. She drank the same milk. That's okay. Don't believe the bullshit. And this is documented in notes of people in the town and letters that have been preserved and things like that. So in the same way I researched that, I researched the Patterson film. And then once you take in all that information, and Bryan will agree with me, I believe here, then you have to put it through your filters. What do I know? What do I feel? What is my intuition? What's my gut? And looking at the way you could see the muscle movement, if you really slow this down and you look at it, you can actually see muscles moving. That's very hard to do for things that were available at the time to use. And one of the things that convinced Steve and I, and you may be familiar with this, Bri, the man who was the #1 Hollywood requested animal makeup artist at the time, who, and I forget, he was a Slavic gentleman or something similar, was he not?
He was. I don't remember his name, but there's more to this.
And and he said, "Listen, on my best day." So take that into consideration. I just say, right or wrong, take all those things into consideration and then listen to what Bryan has to say about the frequency that this thing gives off and the vibration. Go ahead, Bryan.
I'm going to reply back to Radio Vault, AJ, and I'm going to say, hate to break your bubble, burst your bubble, and I'm not here to fight with you. It was not a guy in a costume. Yes, did they have somebody ready to go in a costume? Sure, because they were both. There was, I believe, there was a money issue and whatever. What you witnessed is not a guy in the costume. You witnessed a female Bigfoot, and that is legit. And not only did you see a female Bigfoot, but if you actually look at the footage,
the bottom of the feet is what gets me.
It's not even that.
Yeah.
This female her breasts were engorged. She just had babies. And there is a baby that it peeks up a little bit. It's really quick. And what this woman was doing, what any mother was doing, because you just mentioned it, it kept walking and then turning to look. Are you following me? Are you following me?
Luring away.
Them, Patterson and Giblin, and their horses and the guns away from her young.
Yep, it's true.
Order. If you did this film today, I would say, yeah, it's BS. Because we have something called silicone. And they're using silicone. And what silicone does, it would be so tight on you that your muscles would move. This video was looked at by numerous anthropologists. And they said, there's no way you could replicate that muscle movement and mass, the whole thing in that time frame. They did not have the technology
at the time
to do it. And that technology would have been beyond millions and millions of dollars to get done. For what?
And
what
did they just didn't have it. And see, at the time, it was very much like, think of Travis Walton, okay? If you speak to Travis Walton, you have no doubt in your mind once you leave the room.
I have.
Yeah. But see, you get it. And at the time, they took 5 people in a pickup truck, and over, I think, the span of 3 to 5 days, something like that, around that time, they had half the people failing the polygraph I think they all passed, but barely making it through, and they weren't lying. It's just the pressure and the things. And then you get out into the world and the media hits you, and they start, they hand somebody, $500 to say, yeah, they came to me and asked me, and I'm making this up out of whole cloth, but they came to me and asked me to say that something came into our camp last night, and I don't know, there's something sketchy about it, and I wouldn't do it. People are so easily paid off. What the MSM and the news tells you, well, they wouldn't lie, right? And so the thing is what you see, and the headlines is what we remember throughout our life when something this far away happened. And we tend to stick to it, much like the JFK shooting, where some people are still saying they saw a glimpse of something on TikTok or whatever, and they believe that the Secret Service guy turned around and shot Kennedy in the head. It's BS. It's a glare, and it's a this. But the narrative is out there. Then you get this over here. The narrative is out there. Then and when you really get down to it, you find out that the facts and the science of it, take all that bullshit and throw it out, and you're left with the facts, ma'am, just the facts, ma'am, the dragnet of the paranormal, of she's following an instinct, like Bryce says, trying to get him away. I don't care if the guy had a deathbed confession of whatever. That could be somebody's wife sitting on the thing and say, look, don't leave us with this shit. The people are pulling shingles off the house. I'm still getting phone calls. They're calling you a liar. And half the people want to have your baby or whatever. Can you please just write a letter so when you die and leave me, I don't have to deal with the family, and I don't have to deal with the shit. You can't take human stuff like that. You have to go with your own human stuff and look at that. And what did you feel when you first saw it? If you think it's bullshit, then again, I can't tell you differently. I can only tell you that I've dug very deeply in this for many decades with different vantage points each time, because my consciousness changed.
Yeah.
And I got a vibration off of this, the same as Bryan did. And we didn't discuss it beforehand.
Do you know how much $2,000 was back in 1968?
Again,
it's like 20 grand for 2 people that had very little money and were desperate to make money. Look, but again, I've seen everybody's entitled to believe what they want to believe. Yeah. And in this day and age, what really gets me kind of going is you're getting people coming out of the woodwork because they didn't make any money on it. It's still the best footage. And now they're going to come out. I was the guy in the suit, and look, I have the suit. And then they're going to go after Bob Giblin, who clearly He's having issues, cognitive issues. He's an older gentleman, and people want to make money, and people will do anything and everything in their power to just to make money. No matter, they'll lie through their teeth. They don't even swear on a Bible anymore in a court because they know no one believes in God or whatever.
Right. And it's different. But when you take away all the human qualities, it's just like anything else. This is all I'm saying. Try to look at it this way. And I'm not saying one way or another. I'm just saying, look, we have all this different footage of, snapshots here. I saw it with my own eyes, and I can't tell you what species of this brand of hairy man I saw, because I've heard that there's a different kind of break off or spin off or whatever you want to call it with these ones with the big lip that hang, that's a feature that a characteristic that they have. Doesn't mean then that they're not, it could be not full-blooded. Look, we're all mixed. So all I'm saying is, if you're in a murder case and you have a witness, and this witness says that they saw such and such, we've all seen good lawyers. Yeah, he was just watching a movie today. That's why I'm bringing it up. And the witness says that he cooked his grits 15 minutes faster than everybody else's grits. And, he's looking through and you're making a positive idea on these kids in like what had to be a lot less than time than he said, looking through a dirty window and this and everything else. We know that humans can be infiltrated, confiscated, aggravated, persuaded, and hoodwinked, bamboozled, and led astray. So take all that out and just go look at the film. And like I say with people with the Zapruder as well, look at the film and tell me what your gut and your filters, all your psychic filters, everything tells you. And then go with that. Because at this point, I saw Godzilla eat New York and it looked believable to me. Well, my own government has shown me that 2 airplanes can take out 3 buildings. And I'm still listening to people who believe this. I'm watching buildings fall down in their own footprint and everything turn into dust. And people, because the emotional buttons were pushed, rightfully so, they're not believing their own fucking eyes.
If you got nothing to hide, you'll open your trunk.
Right. So my trunk is open. You're welcome to look through the
I'm just using it as an example.
But yeah. And it's like Mars used to say, and I could say, Jim Mars would say, okay, you're telling me a plane hit the Pentagon. Again, we're not talking about people weren't hurt. We're not talking about there wasn't real blood spilled. That's honor to anybody who suffered, the victims, the families, everybody. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I do. Yeah, what I'm saying is those people, I will stand and I will not stop running my mouth for people, a victim of any kind, who is lied over their blood being spilled for someone else's gain and a lie. And what gets me is we'll look at so much paranormal stuff on the interwebs and, the inner tubes, whatever the hell. And we'll look at that and we'll see actual paranormal footage. I've had it happen to me. I took the picture. I was the only one standing there. And half the people in the room are calling me a liar. And that I blew pink smoke. I'm out there with fog machines and gel covered lights and all this shit. And I'm like,
Teamsters, no, and you're filming
I'm not. So my thing is this. We're going to have to look at anything paranormal or mysterious, missing people or anything with an open mind and say, we have to, if we're going to work in the light, we have to look at things through our God-given talents that they're trying to shut up and detach us from by giving us fluoride, for the love of God. And look that shit up. Why don't you? And it calcifies your brain and your pineal gland and your cognitive thinking and everything else. It's a poison because they don't want you to understand the power that is within you. And you have that. And that's all we have to filter this stuff through. So I don't listen to people. I don't listen to the Gimlin. I don't listen to the whatever. I will take their stuff into consideration. But I go with my gut.
I'm telling you, that's your gut will play a huge role in a lot of this. But vibration. I saw when this was released. Mm-hmm. I was around. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing it. And They took the original film, and there's a little bit of stuff in between it, beginning it, and the way it's filmed, it's like as they were filming, and they'd have a couple of scenes, they film a little bit, then it'd stop, film a little bit, and then it gets into this. The next scene is this scene, and you see it's all crazy, and then he gets off whatever focusing. The person they said that makes the claim right now that he was wearing a costume. You know what? If they got somebody who was 7 feet tall, NBA kind of player,
I just saw the muscles.
No, that would be it. But it was like so what you're saying to me is, and this is the same thing I felt. You see Darth Vader, and then when they pull off his helmet, it's some short, fat, dumpy guy that's causing all the crap.
Yeah,
so the short, fat, dumpy guy.
And your mind, just the pieces don't fit. So you got to, like I said, we'll go crazy. And this,
alligator arms. He's going to have the arms that go below the hip of this. They're extended arms, and the leg mass alone was bigger than the guy.
The butt muscle, the bottom of the feet,
the thigh muscle.
And here's the thing: it's an electron. It comes through you through electronics. So. Again, I'm not talking even about that anymore. Consider again, like the Zapruder film. Okay, well, that was confiscated. There was an untouched version that was released and then cut up and spliced and then re-released, and then this kind of stuff. So you can't even, we go back to Poe and believe half of what you see, or half of what you hear and nothing what you see, or what the thing.
Right.
So you know what I mean? So the thing. So all you really can do, again, the only reason we kind of do these shows and are talking about stuff like this, is great that it all came up, and I knew the minute I put it up there, because some people won't even touch on it because it's such a that's one. There's 1,000, and we know within that 1,000 there could be 900 fakes. I focus at this point in my life on the 100 ones that are real, because if one is correct, if one happened, then something's going on. I look at it the same way as I look at it with ghosts. So even if some guy, and again, I've learned, there was a time I went through and I would read headlines, and I would read the Inquirer, the front of the Inquirer, Bat Boy and all this shit on, in the front of the National Enquirer and stuff like that. Yep. And I can remember my mother, a lot of my family members were in advertising. So advertising is basically propaganda.
Yeah, 100%.
Say what you want. A Campbell's soup label is as much propaganda as somebody tell you that the economy is doing well right now. So and try and just repeating it over and over is called neurolinguistic programming. If they repeat it enough, you'll believe it. So if you're seeing it in headlines, which is a visual, and then you're hearing it, it makes you not use what you already feel. So if you look at something and it's an orb floating above a baby's head, sitting on a floor in front of a Christmas tree, and grandma just died, and somebody saying that's dust, that's a bug, that's this. But when you looked at it, you felt this vibration of kind of mystery and love and some kind of light and a good feeling that went through you. I would say go with that. And don't listen to everything coming in at you. Go with your gut first instinct, because that's the same way we say to look at signs from spirit, or the cardinal, the butterfly, 100%. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, so I know what you're
if
saying. If
you're looking at the paranormal, supernatural, I think you have to look at all that way, from that consciousness.
There've been several, and you can't tell that there was something in there where you can't tell the size of the guy. Actually, you can, and they've done, several different groups have gone into the woods.
How you doing?
And they've been in the same position where the camera was, and then they put somebody in the position where Patty was, and they were able to, through literally certain markers, line up where the trees were. They got this person, and right by where Patty was, and in relationship to that distance and where Patty, peeked out, they said it. She was 8 feet tall. So yes, the size of the creature. They can do this all the time. Look, I'm not, you don't want to believe it. That's on you. That you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I have done enough research on this product and this film to 100% believe
a battleship.
it is real.
To sink
I
a
also
battleship.
believe she's pulling people away from her baby, which
Luring away.
any mother would be doing, luring them away.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't believe a lot of the hype that's come up around this.
Again, that's just it. We need to back
another
up off
thing
of
to
it and
make
say
money, because I know some people that are
40,000 foot.
involved in this.
Anytime you have human beings, this is my point. Yep. Whether it's a true crime mystery, whether it's a court case, whether it's the OJ fucking trial, whether it's a baby in the bathtub with grandma's orb floating above his head, whatever it may be, you got to look at it from your gut instinct and your filters. Now, your filters change over time. Your filters change with wisdom and discernment. Yep. And all I'm saying is the discernment. So in the great scheme of things, it doesn't even matter if the film or the picture or the thing is real. What matters is something is happening, what's happening and why, and how are they doing it. So if you describe a Bigfoot appearing and reappearing or whatever, is it the same feeling as a ghost appearing and reappearing? Is it the same type of idea of a ghost using energy to materialize and become more physical for a moment?
That is the part. That is where a ghost using energy.
All of these things are the same.
It's very similar.
So many different types of cryptid. And now I'm seeing even the big possibility, and we'll touch on this more in a couple of weeks when we do Dogman, but even the Dogman, I was amazed, Bri, at digging into Dogman because you introduced me to Ron. I started looking into the Dogman more, and I started looking at the books. You mentioned the books before, how he's got on vampires, on witches, on this. And you had introduced me, and I said, we said something funny. And the first thing I ever met with Ron, it took him about 3 minutes to find out exactly who I was and where I was coming from. And I turned around and I said, well, how about I get you on the show and get you once a month, and we'll do each one of these books and give you 2 hours to talk about it. What do you think? And the deal was done.
Yeah.
You know, a gentleman's thing right there, on word, all the energy. There was no questions asked.
You're going to love him. I mean, he is just fantastic.
I mean, this is just the way it was with the energy. Yeah. But the point is, I started digging in each one of these things because I know very little bit about mermaids. I know if I don't know something, I'm going to put it on the table. Go, I'm learning here tonight, you know, when it comes to mermaids or whatever it may be. Everybody's got, my jam is ghosts. I'm there for you with that, you know, but, and some other things, but not, you know, this is a big genre. So my point is, when I started digging around in Dogman, when I was writing Cabin 22, Bryan was my definite go-to for my Bigfoot questions and my Dogman. And I'm calling him in the middle of whatever and asking him questions like, in a fight, Bri, here's the situation.
I'll tell you.
I've got this size here and I got this one here. And this is why he's fighting. This is what this one's fighting for. Who wins and how? And we would have these discussions. And then I would go listen to 123 different sound effects to find the correct sound of a back breaking.
Yep.
Because, you know, and again, but I was amazed at what I have found out over the past couple of weeks about Dogman. And this was one of the things, the telepathy. And I don't know why I was surprised by that, because again, it's all connected via ghost, aliens, Bigfoot, telepathic. This is something that they have worked out of us because you are capable of it too. That's
everybody's capable of it.
Yes,
and they're all telepathic. So
yes,
I do remember those calls, and I was trying to explain to you, and I told you about a story. I mean, there's several stories of Dogman fighting.
Save it for
And so
we got to hold something back.
I don't believe I've had. I don't believe I've had a telepathic communication from any one of these creatures. It's something I've would love to experience, but
and mine was instantaneous every time, instantaneous.
I wasn't,
whether it be ghosts or creatures.
You have multiple variables on you because of your background and because of the history and the native connection, and also because
it's a vibration.
Your hormones are totally out of whack from having a child, even though the child's older. You're on a different level. Most women are, because you're using
and it's a consciousness thing. It's a thing, because it's just like Ghost Bride. Like I put through there, a couple of different tribes had put in there, and I honored the correct people in there, but I promise you I don't remember their names off the top of my head. But it's funny how tribes, if from different parts of the continent, in some cases the world,
different
would
experience.
have the same understanding and tell you that Bigfoot chooses to whom he appears to, and why certain people with certain intent will never see him.
Yeah, 100%. So getting back to that with the Bigfoot, right? When you go into the forest looking for a Bigfoot, okay, and you're a real asshole. No, they don't eat bacon strips, but that would be kind of cool.
Probably back strips.
Yeah, I always thought of a rabbit. You know, they said, "Oh my God, wouldn't it be crazy
It's a
to
whole
eat a
different
Bigfoot?"
animal, dude.
It's a whole different animal.
It's
it's an
freaking
effed up animal, and I've been
again,
right in front of them.
I say, like we were saying with Ron, and I don't know if you heard this part, the box. Again, stop putting all Bigfoots, make them the same. Stop,
they're
don't
not.
put ghosts and make ghosts all the same. They're not. Not all. Look, Brian and I are we're going to do kind of sort of the same stuff. We're going to go to sleep. We're going to get up. We're going to do different things, but we're similar in those aspects, but so very different in others. And I think that we do ourselves and them a disservice when we put everybody in a big box and go, because this is part of the chaos and confusion, Brian. And as well as I do, get 150, split them all up into little groups. You got your dog men, you got your dog man people, you got your UFO people, you got your Bigfoot peoples. They put them all in a room. And
it'll be a giant fight.
It's somewhere, somehow. And here's the thing: why? Because you all believe the same thing in a possible existence of this creature. And instead of going, hold on, maybe I had a different kind, so maybe there's more than one type, and mine was more of a benevolent, more intuitive kind of chill kind of dude that's kind of stays here and hangs around. And the other one that you bumped into is the kind that's coming in and out of the portals to screw up, and do some ass kicking and some warrior, type stuff, or come in and do some other things and go. Because it doesn't mean that you both are lying. It just meant that you saw a different aspect of it. The same as somebody who sees a full-bodied apparition and somebody who just hears footsteps on the stairs. It's the same. They're all different.
And the hairy men of the forest. So you got to understand something, right? So each one of us is different.
Right.
And we have our good days, and Sunday was a really bad day for me. Bad dreams, didn't sleep, woke up, and then, whatever. I did what I had to do for my kids, but not a good day. And I'm, in general, pretty nice guy now. I didn't grow up that way, a little bit different. But there are good people and bad people in this world. And when you meet them, some of them are really great. Oh, come on in. Sure. Come in. Oh, you need help with it. Okay, come on in. You can use my phone. And they come in and they give you milk and cookies and everything's great, right? Then you have the other people that will say, oh, yeah, I'll take you. Come on in. And they come in, you go into their house. And the next thing you know, no one's heard from you for a month, but they'll find your dead body downstairs in the basement because they buried you. Okay. It's the same thing with these creatures. You have this good portion of them, and some of them are whacked out of their gourd, and they're animalistic, they're cannibalistic.
Yes,
they are vicious and violent,
and they do. And
never forget
and
that.
both sides, I believe, do collect people, and that is also part of your missing 411. There's more. But again, you can't say, I'm going to capture this Bigfoot, and because I have this Bigfoot, I'm going to answer all the questions going through the DNA, going through this
species.
Again, you can take Brian's DNA and it's going to be different than mine completely, but it's going to have similarities. And that's the big thing. I think we're missing so much about this creature, and we're also missing, I think, the message. If there is a message, what would that message be? And if you've got so many of these native tribes around the world that seem to believe that the more you see them and the more they come up and start interacting, they're trying to warn us with something. So could they be a portion of that species, be light workers and possibly warning us of the dark side that's being called through these portals and these CERN and these portals and concerts where everybody is chanting in rhythm like a drum circle? Can't tell me there isn't power in that, folks. That's
100%.
everything in hoodoo and
I had that last night.
Name it. Oh God, you name it. Everybody that's ever done a beat around a fire to a cadence, whether it's military marching or whether it's the ghost dance around the Cherokee fire or wherever you want to, the hoodoo thing going on in New Orleans.
A religious aspect to it, like which is meaning doing God's work. And then there's a spell casting aspect.
And an energy.
Right.
And an agreement.
Right. And then you're by going along with it, you are taking part in it.
Being part of the spell.
To whatever the hell happens.
You're offering your energy.
Where you are. You know, if you're at a Native American indigenous sweat lodge, you're giving consent.
Used for good.
You're trying to find your way and your whatever
releasing
the message
your
is.
Negative and your.
And let me tell you, those things are awesome.
I've done it.
And you're definitely going to vomit like I did.
Yeah. And it's the same as though if you do a Reiki cleansing, what do they tell you? Drink a gallon of water a day for 3 days. Why? Because they've released toxins. All of this is connected. Do you feel what I'm saying here? This is amazing. And you guys can really stand back and look at it and see it the way I'm describing it and go, wow. Because if you're in a church, look, there's a group, and I don't know what church it is. I don't think, I can't even remember which one it is. I think it has, it may very be more Puritan or Quaker, but they do this with their hands that they sing in the church. And they're not just keeping time. Well, how is that different from, people raising their hand at a concert to a beat and everybody in agreement with their energy? It's the same reason that people who understand will tell you that a Ouija board is dangerous, because you're allowing and giving permission for whatever loose earthbound spirit is lingering around to come through you, use your energy and become more physical into this world. And you don't know what you're going to get. And it's very hard to control that. Does this make sense?
Don't know if you hear that.
I do.
Okay. This is what happens when you get to what the church is for and what these buildings were for. Mm-hmm. And what you're doing is you're hearing a frequency, which is 528 hertz. Now that's a different thing.
Can you turn it up just a little? Let's see if I can give you all the volume I can over here.
Turn it down?
No, turn it up. Turn it up.
Turn it up, but it's going to
go up to 11.
Oh, it does.
Can you guys hear that? I can hear it. I want to make sure they can.
You're going to start feeling this in your solar plexus. That's where you should start feeling it. These are frequencies. When you get to that type of frequency, when you get to certain chakras and frequencies, and you start, playing around with it and you vibrate, these are frequencies you give off. Now, they may not be audible, but you may be hearing them. And believe it or not, I'm going to stop this now for 2 seconds just to stop it. Frequencies are huge. Now, if I put this up there because it's very important. I did a presentation on Awakened Nation a couple of weeks ago, and that chart shows you that every color has a frequency, and you can program certain things, like lasers, to operate and resonate at a certain frequency or disregard select frequencies, if you get what I'm saying. And I'm not going to go in further with it, but there are key frequencies that relate to your solar plexus chakra to restore your DNA, your self-confidence, divine miracles, love. These are all these chakras. There's a third eye chakra, 852, throat chakra, heart chakra. And then you get the crown chakra, which is for telepathy, and visions. And I'm gonna see if I can. Where is that one? It's not there, but I have 6.
Which one do you want, honey?
This is your heart chakra, and if it's bothering you, I don't want to upset people, but
which one is that? That's the heart. How many hertz?
39, and it's the heart chakra, and it deals with, it attracts love, positive energy, balance and emotions, heals. It's all where your heart comes from. And yes, feel the love. And then you can combine these tones, and you can get other tones. You can get the sacral chakra, which is manifesting intentions and cleansing trauma. You can add to it. You get where we're going with this, right? And this hits you at your sacral chakra. And then again, let's throw in the solar plex chakra. You start doing this, you start listening to these tones, and you'll start feeling it. I mean, there's more, and I don't want to bug you out because some people get very, very susceptible to the sounds, and it bugs them. But I gave some of these to Cisco because you want to balance out your chakras. If you suffer, like they said, suffer from headaches, senses sharp, but you're not oversensitive. This is where you would work on your crown chakra, right? The head. Okay. You give off these frequencies. You may not hear them, but you give off a vibration and a resonance and a frequency. And you don't have to hear them or whatsoever. You can see them. What is your aura? It is a frequency. And when you go and you're going in and you go to the woods to go look for a Bigfoot, right? There are people that go in there and they'll bring certain equipment with them, like machetes, because the woods are dangerous. Some places let you carry firearms, okay, but most of them don't. And I think sometimes it gets a little bit too dangerous with people in firearms because they get, they have a
spooked too easy. Bad. Real quick, I want to just a sidewind you here. Renice is asking, can they find this on YouTube? Where can we find stones? So you can also get them in crystal bowls, can you not? That are tuned to certain frequencies.
This is. I have an app on my phone called Bowls.
Okay.
And it's my favorite app. And all you do is, here it is. Can you hear that?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And then I can do this. I can
oh wow, that's beautiful.
Right?
Now, which one is that? That's beautiful. That kind of resonates through the whole top.
Right. So they'll give you the information. I don't have the full information on this right now, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different bowls, and each bowl resonates with chakras. So each bowl is a frequency. It's in the musical scale, and then they also deal with bells. So I have bells on it.
Oh, that's nice.
Go through this. The cool thing is, you can make your own recordings, and it's not letting me.
It's very much the same as why I think certain spiritual beliefs are so cool, and that all of them should be encompassed, because you could go through all of the Middle East and you'll get this. They do it with the music. You could do it Buddhism, the gongs, the church bells, all of these things, they're all resonating at a tone, and there's a reason for it. And the same with us, just thinking, there's a reason.
You're trying to get a tone there. It's really recently people started to talk about the Tartarians who built civilization before we were even here.
I'm going to throw the rest of these up while you talk, because I wanted to get them all.
Building civilization on top of civilizations. And the reason why churches have those big Gothic windows and the designs, it's not because it's to praise God. It's the frequencies that are created from using different tones, semantics. And what you do is every sound has a pattern. Okay. And the way they explain is when you went to church, You didn't actually go to church. You can use sound and vibration and frequency to retune your essence, and you get energy from it. And part of having part of having it in a church is the reason why the church has this great sound and resonance is because you're bouncing these frequencies off. They were healing people with sound and frequency and resonance.
So true. So true.
Right.
And all of that's true.
Right.
And there's something out now, Jason Shorka, and please look him up on YouTube. There's a lot of information out there, and I think it's called the EES.
Yeah.
It's an energy, the energy waves. And I'll tell you, I discovered that this about a week into understanding that Dickens was sick, and I would put that on a laptop and just play it on a continuous loop. And I had it on my phone, and you could see him just easing up. And I was talking to Jason. I told him, I said, animals know, you know, they feel it too. And it was just resonating through the room, and it helped us both to be calm. You know, the inevitable did happen, but I think that those tones and that energy that was flowing out really helped. So the reason Brian and I are bringing this up is because there's a difference, and I'm just going to use myself here as an example. Brian brought it up earlier.
Yeah.
Feeling something before it happens. You hear us talking all the time of the ghost stories, the multiple ghost stories I've told over the years, and I've shown you over the years. We've shared so many. Within those, sometimes there is a common thread for the people who recognize it, that they felt something before they saw something. They felt something coming. And you'll hear people saying stuff like, I felt a love, warm energy. I felt, I was shocked at what I saw, but I wasn't getting anything harsh feeling or angry or evil or negative. I got the other, you know, I got everything was warm and love and light and a happy feeling, you know, and the hair stood up on my arms and my neck. This is reaction, your body's natural reaction to a difference in the energy and the vibration in the room. Okay. And and what you're feeling is the frequency, the emotion of that energy. This is why I believe, my theory, my opinion, that ghosts are attracted to some people because that person is resonating an energy and an emotion that they feel, that they recognize. So whether it be a mother losing their child, and this person was a mother who lost a child, and they resonate with that feeling and that vibration, and that's what attracts them and adheres them to it, or name fill anything in there, whether anger, you know, and things like that. But I think it's more distinctive when you're looking at the lighter vibrations, like the love and the loss, or different things that you can understand a little bit more, rather than the anger. Because anytime you have that kind of jealousy, anger, hatred, regret, violent response to something, it's everything is chaotic. And down here with these other higher vibrations, lighter feelings, they're easier to sort because they're not as chaotic. Like Brian was showing you what the world energy was showing right now. It's very chaotic and very angry and very boiling over, kind of. And then you see all of the heaviness of the light workers continuously to try to put their light out there and absorbing this like the tree. So what do you think the Bigfoot and the creatures in the woods are attracted to? Do you think they're going to show up for the guys getting out of the truck? You know, they're tossing back the beer, throwing the cans in the cooler. They're hawking up their guns and loading everything and all this other stuff. And they're creating all this energy. And even, I would say, that's one set of hunters. And then you have this other set that's more respectful and respecting the nature around them. And they're walking through and they're just going in and they're getting their kill and they're leaving, very much like Native Americans would do, or somebody that was more in tune with nature. And then you've just got your peaceful people going in there and wanting to become one with nature and listening to the wind and the trees and everything, the flora and fauna talking to you. Who do you think Bigfoot's going to show up for? At least let you get a glimpse. Think about it.
They're going to show up for the person.
Very much like ghosts.
Yeah, they know when the minute you get out of the car, who's there and what's there.
Just like ghosts.
And what their intentions are. Let me tell you something. Yeah. It's really interesting because first of all, you can see it in your aura. The color of your aura will just determine where you are in relationship to what kind of person you are. They'll tell you if you're sick, if you're accessible, if you can be jumped, you can be controlled, you're good. You know, are you good witch or a bad witch? Right?
Mm-hmm. Just like a serial killer out on the prowl looking for a victim. Why does he pick that one?
Or an energy vampire. They know.
They know.
Because they see something in you and you radiate it. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you that I don't know why. I mean, my first encounter was late 70s in a summer camp at 3 a.m. with a big head in the window. And I didn't think there was Bigfoot there, but there was something ginormous in my window. And you could see the top of its brow and the nose. And it was like this. And it's kind of looking in the window. And my feet are this far apart. It could have went.
Yeah.
Pulled me out. Okay.
Right.
Wasn't that big a kid.
And you wonder what in the world, though, you know, where somebody, I think one of the scariest things I saw when I was a kid, and I was really trying to understand. And again, a lot of people treat this, again, I say, what I just explained with the hunters and the different groups of hunters and different people going into the woods for different reasons.
Yep.
Now change hunter to paranormal investigation group. Interchangeable, correct? Because if you've got a group that's going in there and we're going to provoke and kick in the door, and by God, you better bang on that table for me and all, you know, all this other stuff. And, you know, and going out on the battlefield, how's it feel to be shot and all this other, they're not going to, the ghosts are going, check these guys out, you know, same deal. And then you've got a paranormal group with heart and intent and correct and wanting to help and coming with the right stuff and using their intuition and everything else and playing like that band on stage in good harmony. And they go in there and they get good evidence. So just like ghosts, they know you before you're coming. The minute you get there, and again, I dare say, like the dog man, you know, and I'm finding that and it was just so funny to me, Brian. I can't express it. When I was going back over just the past couple of weeks, and somebody said something about the dog man situation and how he started to think prayer and the face changed.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just, and again, it was not unlike a demon sitting over a child in his bed, you know, in the middle of the night.
Changes
everything.
You may be scared out of your mind, but once you let in something that you believe in wholeheartedly, your aura changes. And when they see that, they're like, uh-oh. They use this crap in movies. It's just matter of fact, one of the greatest, it was kind of hysterical movie, The Last Dragon. I'm the Master Leroy, right? So his energy changed and he started to glow. He believed in himself.
This is incredible. It's incredible.
Dracula movies. You ever Fright Night?
Yes. And why does
coming down the stairs and Roddy McDowell puts up the thing and the Dracula goes, you got to believe.
You got to believe.
And then Roddy got a hold of himself, and he held it. And the guy was like, whoa.
Right. You got to believe. And see, that's the thing. Same thing. Shadow people. I don't name it. Everything has this reaction. And you've got to wonder, does that not make your inquisitive minds want to know why? Why are all these things so similar? How is it that I can tell a story about a Bigfoot deciding to appear to someone and have a moment or trust a group like in Cabin 22, where we find out that this whole cabin village on the mountain was living in harmony with a small family of Bigfoot that had been living in harmony. And the reason that everything was getting stirred up is there was this influx of a new breed, something new that was pushed out of its home and its territory due to a huge storm. In this case, it was probably Katrina, pushed out of New Orleans and into new territory and had to fight their way for a right to live. Now you have a disturbance in the natural balance of the atmosphere and the flora and fauna and everything in there, and things have to fight for territory. And this is why in my case, the portals opened up, the warriors came in, did a little house cleaning, and left again, and everything. And it took everybody on that damn mountain and each one of their special gifts to come together as one in agreement to handle the situations.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I had no idea when I wrote this. And then I come back and find that stuff I thought I was making up out of whole cloth to prove a point, in some cases, in little pieces to fit it together, turned out to be true 2 years later.
You were connecting to the source.
Holy shit.
That's right.
Yeah. And this is probably why in a lot of cases, Brian, I don't remember writing certain paragraphs, big chunks, whole pages.
Because, okay, that's called automatic writing. And because you're going, it's not true. It's a gift everybody has, and people don't, like, people ask me, like, how the hell do you remote view that? Right. So I helped somebody,
Yeah.
And
a couple of them.
The last show, and she was like, how the hell? I had a 2-hour conversation with her a couple days ago because we wanted to make sure everything.
Doing better.
Okay. She's good. We're just working on.
She's got to listen to me. There's no two ways about it. You know this, right?
Well, we're looking for a shaman on the East Coast.
There you go. I'm just saying, has to be that.
But you know what? I do what I do. I make no bones about it. I'm the science guy in me is like, how the hell is this possible?
What the hell, dude? I know.
When I get the information back, like boom, hit, and I sunk all the battleships, I know I've stopped doubting what I do. Okay. She was like, she goes, I gotta be honest with you. You blew me away. And you were telling me things you had no idea, because I don't want to know a damn thing. I started working the minute she called. Can I help you? As soon as I saw, can I help you?
Yep.
I knew I was going to work, whether I wanted to or not. And when I started doing, she goes, it got to the point where I had to look down to see if I was dressed properly, because you were seeing so many things that
I know.
Like naked or something like that.
It's like you're not ready for it. And then you realize you're in it, and then you go, okay, shoot.
Yeah. Oh, that looks nice on you. But this is how it happens. And just quickly getting back to what this is, where the vibration and sound frequency is. You have creatures in this planet that come here, and they use sound frequency, vibration, and resonance to travel from flesh and blood to a different form of energy, lights, orbs, okay? Something emitting energy into an interdimensional realm. And I've had people who are investigators who are in the forest, and then they hear something, it sounds Bigfooty, they're getting all the signs it is, they start walking, they find a path, and then they walk a little bit further, and they finally realize there's no sounds now. There's no wind. The wind stopped. There's no sounds. And they go, this is really weird. And then they back up a little bit, and then things kick in, that they went into the portal that was opened. Because I don't believe they can shut it that quickly. They open a doorway.
Right.
They crawl in, they go in, and they're wherever they want to be.
Yep.
They can either hang out interdimensionally, or
you see here on the bottom.
That one, that's exactly
at the very bottom corner. It's exactly like that. Now, you may have heard of a Skinwalker Ranch. Now, just like everything else, they take it and they bastardize it and they fuck with it and they exaggerate and they mar up the details so much that you're losing the baby with the bathwater here. If you go back for years ago, when the first things first started, there's something going on that property. And one of the things that got me was the lady told the story of how they're sitting there. I forget what they were doing. And all of a sudden it was like a rip in right in front of them. They just see this appear in the air in front of them, not in the sky, right in front of them. And all of a sudden this rip opens up, a light starts coming from it, and it starts to open up, and this leg comes through. And this dogman type creature steps through the portal, looks left, looks right, not at them, looks left and looks right, and walks off and disappears right in front of them. What the hell was that? Then you've got that wonderful guy, he's Scottish. I can't remember. He used to be on Ghost Hunters. Anyway,
Barry
he's very
Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Fitzgerald.
He's a friend of mine. Yeah.
Wonderful dude. And he'll talk to you about the elementals that he watched.
Oh yeah.
Pull him underwater. Felt the arm come up and pull him. And when he stuck his arm in fact, I put it in Cabin 22 in homage of him, where he stuck his arm into the portal and how it was cold and felt empty. And he got up past his elbow and then he got scared something was going to grab it. He pulled it back out. So many people speak of this stepping into something. I was in Montesano Mountain. It's one of the reasons I used that in the Cabin 22. And I was walking on a path, and there's so many different paths marked, but they try to keep it very natural there. So the paths are marked with a small little yellow patch or something on a tree very low. Right. So you see it everywhere, like mile markers on a highway. So again, you would need to stay on the trail, because if not, there's sinkholes and there's all kind of rock slides and there's all kind of mess. So anyway, walking through, and there was this one distinctive part where I was turning the corner, and I don't know why I was feeling ahead of time like danger. So you don't know. Dude, you don't just jump to, okay, I'm going to see a Bigfoot. You go, is there a snake around the corner that something's trying to tell me? Because you feel like the rabbit, and you're enjoying, the clover, and you're munching away, and all of a sudden a hair stands up on the back of your neck. You pay attention to that.
You're like, okay, gotta go.
Because, you just watched Larry Moe and Curly last week get taken off by a red-tailed hawk, or a fox, and you learned from that experience. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not expecting to see, but then it gets bigger. And the crickets stop, and the wind, you don't hear it rustling in the trees anymore. And why this happens, I do not know. But there's other things that seem to happen, Bri, before we leave here, because we're getting there toward the last half hour. I can't believe we've done almost 3 hours, 2.5 hours of Bigfoot here, guys. And it's going so fast. But this constant, now I've had Tom Connolly on and his dad, and they have the big map where how many Bigfoot sightings and how many UFO sightings around. You've met the Connollys.
Very, very good friends with both of them.
Yes, great wonderful people. And they've done extensive research on this. And we've had them on the show, and they've talked about the mix between the two, and orbs, and what's the other one? They look like rods, I guess rods of light, something like that.
Yeah, they have light rods. It's kind of like a rod with like little cash marks, like something. It's weird.
We might be seeing some kind of energy things, like these kids get the like little energy packs when they play the video games and stuff. They get the little energy packs. It's wild.
Group of kids they're called light beings, and they have a language, and they write this light language. We got to get you Mary Rodwell. She's amazing. And when you hear this, she's going to blow the doors off you.
I mean, it's amazing, because you just hear more and more. But again, when you break it down, you back up and you get that eagle eye view. And once you understand that, how odd is it that so many different creatures, beings, even humans, if you want to bring in time travel and time slips, and ghosts, because ghosts are just people who have passed, right? The essence of human beings, and whatever stage they might be in their spirit, and their soul. Right. So how is it that somehow certain living things have found ways in and out of, from going from non-physical to temporary physical, and sometimes physical for quite a while, because it seems like some of these guys have decided to stay, and living and hanging out in the woods and whatever. But I still think they have the ability. There's 3 or 4 stories in all of these different documentaries. And I love documentaries when they get in there and talk to the people it happened to, because just like ghost stories, Bri, you'll have all those similarities and different stories, people that don't know each other, right? Yep. And one of them was, 3 of them lived in a town all their life, had to run over to the neighbor's house because it's back again, it's in the backyard, that kind of stuff. And they're so familiar with it that it's not like an everyday thing, but they don't get excited about it anymore. They just handle, it's banged on the windows, it's done whatever. And right now I'm talking about a mixture of different creatures like Bigfoot or dogmen or whatever.
Bigfoot does it when he really wants you to get the hell out of the area.
Yeah, it seems like similar, whether it's the rocks being thrown or thrown at you, or the whistling and the surrounding and the kind of like the pack mentality of almost like wolves circling and closing in, that kind of thing. It's all it's nature. It's what nature does, So all of these different things. Well, a couple of these gentlemen, and again, these are like guys that don't want to go down to the local bar and be asked if they've been probed. They don't want to be called crazy because they said their house is haunted. They don't want to be called crazy because everybody at the bar thinks they saw a bear, and this guy's looking at something that looks like this, and he knows damn well it's not a bear.
Yep.
They just don't bring it up out of whole cloth. There's a reason behind it, Now, take out the psychotic, take out the people that are just wanting attention. What are you left with? Are you left with one story that you believe from a credible witness that has no reason, like a retired police officer that's so scared to tell his story, but he waited till he was retired because there's this unspoken thing that you don't talk about in the Blue Brotherhood, and they'll call you crazy. Or whether you're a ranger, a park ranger at Gettysburg. Some of these guys stand up there and once a week they say there are no ghosts in Gettysburg. Well, we know that's true.
Yeah,
but they have to say it because of their pension, their a reputation. So this guy said, several of them were saying that they were so familiar with this that these creatures were walking just in the wood line and walk by, and they're sitting with their shotgun on the porch going, yep, don't come past here. And there's kind of that understanding as he walks by, he gets this telepathic message. I can't find the portal. And it was so weird, this guy says, because he's like, everybody's going that way.
Yep.
It was just such a thing for that family. There was not a big deal.
A couple of times you get, if you have many going through an area, it's kind of like if you have too many people who are psychic in a room, you're never going to get any place.
Right.
Some cancel each other out. Right. Some confuse others. True. So you'll never get an answer. Energy. Okay. If you have people that have different energies, you're never going to get an answer to the right area. That's why some people they'll ask for help. Like, I can't get, and they're not intentional putting in their brain.
But how incredible. How incredible is that?
Yeah.
I mean, he's getting the telepathic. He had grown up around this. Keep in mind, this is like a 55-year-old man now. His first experience with these creatures, he says, not the same one. Some that were similar and some that were, obviously different, like of a different build or a different, I don't know what to say. I mean, again, I always have to back up from something like this and think that when I was in Alabama, the squirrels looked a hell of a lot different than they do in Jersey. Whether it's coloration because of their surroundings or, it's wintertime and they get more white because of the camouflage. Again, think Native American, think nature. So why would they be different? Many reasons. Okay. So, and he got to the point where he knew when they were around. He couldn't see them, but he knew he could feel something. And this guy's dealing with both Bigfoot and the Dogman recently. Not till in the last 10 years, but he's been there all his life, 50 some years. So again, he said the weird thing was he thought about it and they had cleared a couple of acres, knocked down an old barn, changed the scenery. And it didn't click to him till a couple weeks later. No wonder he couldn't find the portal. We had screwed everything around, changed everything. And 100%. He was just so matter of fact about it. And it's not the only case where I've heard that being said. Trippy.
So when I was in a couple of my encounters, when they knew I was coming and I knew I was being watched walking in to the woods, I saw them through the peripheral. It's really weird. It's kind of like something where they walk,
something's there
really quick, and then you saw like a little bit of a leg, and then it just like they couldn't be behind that tree. No way.
Yeah.
I started to get a feeling, and I started feeling what you're feeling. I'm rolling something through right now, and you're probably going to hear it. Okay.
Yep.
And these are binaural waves. And at certain points, when I had a great experience, rock throw, communication, like, can you give us a tap? Give me a tap, give me something I know you hear, and I'm talking out loud. And if anybody else was there, like, that guy's crazy. I'm like, I'm not crazy because I know there are creatures here. And then at one point, in one investigation where we had that interaction, and then I had a UFO encounter. These are the sounds I started hearing. You hear this hum, and then what happens is it's kind of like they use frequencies to make you feel good, like we're feeling right now. The vibration waves. Okay. You have to understand something. They do this they put this stuff in music.
Yep.
They put this in your phone.
Yep.
They're going to do a test on the 4th and the 11th. We don't even know what's going to come through that test. Okay.
True.
There's a lot of broadcasts, and certain frequencies and tones literally will trigger things within you.
Yes. The fear frequency is what I'm telling you. I can back up Bryan on this 100% because I can tell you it's in music and it's everything else. But here's the test. Turn on MSM, do 6 o'clock to whatever. I don't even know what time it's on anymore. I haven't watched it in so long. But if you put that news on, there is a frequency. You could go in another room, and light workers, you can feel this because it's fear. Everything is projected in this fear frequency. What is it? 485 something? I can't remember. It's not my bag. I get it. I understand it. I feel it, but I can't.
435 or something like that.
Yeah. So they echo it in this. And listen, they just changed whoever's in charge of this. There's a damn group for every freaking thing we're paying for with our taxes.
Rockefeller was the one that changed the tunings.
There you go. Yep. There you go. And it's insane. It's all part of the systematic breakdown of your God consciousness. I promise you this. What you're connected to your creator, your light, where your light comes from, it's all to separate you from that. It's all to separate you so you don't know how damn powerful you are. It's all to separate you from you don't know what you're capable of. You don't believe me? Did you ever hear about the mom that pulled a car off her child? Did you hear about this recent one where a guy picked up a Harley and threw it out of the way of hitting his kid? There's an adrenaline within you that is so powerful. At an instant, you're on, and all of this is part of it, but it's so small. What was it? Was 432? And they upped it.
It was 432, and that actually helped to recharge you. That
and they changed it.
It's really weird, and it's a little bit of the God thing, a little bit of the holiness,
they've been trying to separate our DNA for a long time, Bryan.
And they knew that it wasn't good, and Rockefeller changed it officially to 440. Now, here's the thing. Someone went back. If you listen to all classical music, all the masters, they're all at 432. And there was a farmer. I'm just going to talk 1 second because let's go. He had an idea. He was listening to it. He felt good after it. Everything felt great when listening to the classics. He put into his field, his cornfield. He had several different products.
Yes, I've heard this.
And he started playing throughout the entire growing process. Classical music, which was at 432 hertz.
There you go.
And the corn went from normal corn to ginormous. The melons were unbelievably
enormous
larger.
And so sweet. And the minerals and vitamins in each thing were it was back to way it was intended to be. If you think that the apple you eat today is the same apple you had 50 years ago, you're out of your mind.
No.
I mean, not just what they're putting on it to make it look shiny and make it the right color and to ripen it faster and to keep. Does anybody do this experiment? And I wouldn't send anybody to McDonald's for anything else. Go and buy the apple slices that they put in your kids' meal. Open the bag, put it on the counter, and check on it in a week. It's going to look just like it did the day you opened it. If that doesn't scare the shit out of you, I don't know what will.
There's something else coming up.
It's all part of it. It just to
part
try
of
to
that
separate.
McDonald's thing. Just I'm throwing a sidebar in there for your own health, safety, and security. Wendy's and McDonald's, and I think some of the other food industries are going to be offering you these specials, $1 hamburgers.
Don't do it.
Do not eat that food. Do not eat that food.
If you want to know why, go watch Soylent Green.
Do not eat that food, please.
And I'm not joking.
You think you're getting a deal?
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Someone's paying for it, and
please
you don't
be
want
conscious that of the fact. Here's an easy way to do it. Assume that in every single way possible, from the air, from the water, from the food, from what you're digesting in your eyes, from what you're listening to, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, is all intended to separate you from who you can be and to keep you so chaotic and confused that you don't realize it.
Yep.
And that's why I do these shows, because if we can take something like Bigfoot and understand that you could pretty much overlap in a lot of ways, not every way,
right.
Ghosts and how Bigfoot reacts to people that are, it's so amazing to find out how connected all this stuff is. And then you break it down, like Bryan is saying, with the different vibrations and frequencies and everything else. And then you go back and you add in around the globe, the indigenous culture, beliefs, legends, and lores, and understand, just like herbs from different continents, different people, different tribes, different villages using the same herb for the same 3 things, but each one might have 5 other things they found out about it. How did that happen before trade, before boats, before the inner tubes, and the interwebs and books and people talking and coming over, visiting continents, because that's true. And then you add in, even Catholic priests will use certain incenses and frankincense and myrrh and a combination of spices to ward off evil and cleanse a church before a mass. But so will a Native American in Navajo in the plains doing similar things. So again, what I'm saying is I find that if you get too close to something and too hung up on whether or not, say, Oswald could make the shot, which he couldn't have. Okay. And who said what and what headline and what book and who did, doesn't matter. The facts are there. And once you understand that somebody and this is a fact, and I can say it over the inner tubes and not worry about being sued because it's not slander and it's not defamation of character because it's fucking true, that Gerald Ford admitted to the public that he changed the autopsy photos because he changed the position of the wound on the neck. And his reason was to better appease the public. They just needed it to be over. And he was perfectly fine with that. And so was every other legal person that could have basically had him hung for treason for this. Everybody was okay with it. And that's been going on since before then, and it's going on now. So if you can look at Bigfoot and discern, you can discern how maybe to keep your family alive and make better choices for different things, because you just have to understand. If you just assume, yes, it's all true, then you can better protect yourself and you can better heal yourself with what they're trying to get you to forget. It's in your DNA, folks. It's in your memory. And I think this Bigfoot is so much more to this, Bryan, than just big feet.
No, it's a lot more into it, and
yeah, that's how I look at it.
There's so much to this.
So much shit. I know. I know.
I mean,
and there's so much more we can uncover, but there's more coming.
Right. We didn't even touch on FirmLab, which is the first collider out of Illinois that was ramped up in the late 90s, early 2000s. It went up and it was shut down immediately. Just at the same time that, I forgot her name, paranormal investigator came up with, Mandela effect. He's dead. No, he's not.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and I describe this anytime anybody wants to talk about Mandela effects, every time they ramp that crap up and they don't know what they're doing, they're taking our timeline, which was, a circle, right? They're obliterating a piece of it, and they're obliterating another timeline, which is near us. And when we join them together, this is A, this is B, and then some of it's together, and you can never, ever put that back perfectly. There'll always be a crack in the seam, and these interdimensional creatures are seeing that crack. Oh, what's that? And they're coming out. This is why they have a ton of flying humanoid goblins in Chicago.
Yes,
they ramped
the
up
negativity. They're drawn to the negativity. Do you see how this works?
They're wrapped into that negativity in that interdimensional, the ultra terrestrials, and they're coming through the seams. This is why when you have an explosion, you also create another seam and ripple in the time. This is why you get the Mothman coming in. This is why you have all these shadow people coming in. They prey on your fear.
And again, how is it possible that I'm just a hypothetical person now, a person that would believe that and listen to a ghost story that says, this kid's the mediums all came in and said the kid's got a portal in his closet, we have to close it, and we're perfectly fine with that this portal got opened via somebody inviting a tragedy, whatever it could have caused, Ouija boards inviting in, somebody opened something and didn't close it. Okay. Right. And natural or otherwise, mirror or otherwise, whatever it may be. But if we take that same portal and say there's a portal in the woods and Bigfoot's coming in and out of it, maybe other things
can't
too.
Can't happen.
No, then we're crazy. And we have a hard time explaining this to people because they're not at this level of consciousness. We can try to wrap our minds around this, and we might not agree on every little thing. But again, like I said, if you get to that point where you're spending time going over one picture and agreeing whether it's real or whether it's faked, and because you're missing a point.
Yeah.
Something's going on. And there's too many stories about a ghost. There's too many stories about a dogman. There's too many stories about winged creatures and whatever. My mom and I saw a thunderbird. I mean, I listened to two guys the other day talking on a pod, whatever. And, talking about, oh, well, it's rare, it's pterodactyl, it's a blue heron, it's, this, and it's, they're blue, and they've got this. I'm like, who the hell are you? What? No, I saw one. And the reason I think I did was because we were at the Dismal Swamp, same place I saw the pig thing that kept changing the faces, the shape shift and whatever the hell.
Cool.
Same place, same damn place. There was some about the Dismal Swamp, I'm telling you. 75 would have been. So we're in the same damn Mustang going down the same friggin' road. And all of a sudden we see that what you would have thought probably was a big eagle. And I've got eagles living in my cell tower right here above my head. I see babies all the time. I see mom and daddy. They're huge.
Yeah, they're big.
It was bigger than that because it not only did it take up the entire both sides of the road as it swooped down, okay, but its wings, you could hear them hitting the trees that were on either side, and there was swamp in between that. This thing was huge. My mom hit the brakes and just looked up because we got to see it come right over the windshield just like that. And right over the car and gone. And we're looking out the back window. That damn road, I'm telling you. I don't know what's going on there. But now that one was the same. Within the same 2 weeks, we saw the other thing. So a lot of people would say harbingers were Native American or somebody trying to tell us. Because my mom died very, very close to right after that. So are these harbingers? Was it the connection of the spiritual? What? Don't know. But I saw it.
I had upstate New Yorkers going to school. And I could have sworn I passed this test. And there was a coyote that turned its head and looked at me as I was driving through.
Yeah.
And oh man, I didn't pass that test. And I was like, and I made the connection. I'm like, yep. So there's certain things that are yeah, I believe in the harbingers, but I mean, Indianapolis 500.
If you're connected into nature, you're connected.
Yeah.
If you're connected, you're connected. And if they know, and your spirit guides and everybody else knows that that's what you're going to pay attention to, and that's where you're vibrating, your consciousness will accept it, they're going to use that. If somebody else needs something else, another type of visual to whatever they are in their journey.
Penny or nickel or coin.
I mean, yeah, something. They're going to use that.
Every time you see, if you walk someplace, unless you're working at a bird store, okay? I'm just telling you. And you see feather, someone's saying hi.
Yeah.
Okay. If you get a cardinal to come over by you, you see a cardinal, that's someone very, very close saying, I got you. I'm watching you. I had a cardinal 2 years ago. I'm coming out of the building. I saw this cardinal. And then I started walking actually towards it. It was just standing there. I'm like, oh, it's probably a family member. And I had something vibed about with that cardinal. And as I started walking toward it, he went a little bit further. And then he followed me around. He landed on my car. As I was walking, he landed right on my car. And I like,
wow.
So I believe that was my dad at one point. But
was that your first? Was that your first?
What interaction?
Your first? No. Was that your? Oh wait, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get
the Patty clip.
No,
Patty clip.
The baby. So
it's in there. You got it.
Yep, I'm looking. I got it right here.
I just got
to get past the commercial
version. Yeah, you got it.
No, what I was saying was that I always tell people go with the first feeling you get, your intuition, your first intuition feeling, because once we start thinking, those feelings start to change because we're changing how we're receiving the information. You got to go with your first instinct. So just like the person that says, I feel danger coming down the hall. I feel danger around the corner. Don't get in the elevator. As soon as we start bringing our human thoughts into this mess, that's where we start getting into trouble. I think I found it.
Try it.
Okay, let's see.
Because
I saw
so much that magic moment for you. So
let's see. Well,
I'm gonna get my mint.
It's really
there's a 4K version. Someone took it, went frame by frame by frame by frame. Made a 4K version that is fantastic.
It's just to get it to run correctly. I just picked the wrong darn picture. That's what I did. I picked
the wrong day to stop sniffing glue.
Yeah.
I've opened portals in some of the stone chambers in New York.
Oh yeah, I mean that's
next time we do it, I'm gonna get either a GoPro to kind of put it on a stick to go into the portal. See, because I don't want to put my body through it.
Yeah,
and
I mean, people don't realize too. Like I was talking to Brad the other night, and I said, "Look, man, I'd jump in right now, but it takes me hours to come back out of one of those phone calls. Just tell her I said this."
Yeah, no, I know.
Again, people don't realize what it takes.
The left side of Patty would be visible as she walked downstream, and I wanted to investigate any objects on her left. M.K. Davis has made a few commentary videos where he has identified what appears to be an object suspended by a lanyard on her left side. Therefore, I had hoped seeing the left side of Patty more clearly might help identify what the object could be. So the pretext of my analysis that led to this video was incorrect, yet it may have still uncovered something previously unseen in the PG film, as you will see in a moment.
Show me, dude. It's a little tiny head that pops up. Is it right here?
It's around there.
Here are the 4 frames I plucked from the beginning of the PG film. The very first frame is the most clear, while the other 3 have some motion blur, but we are still able to distinguish Patty well. Keep in mind the frames are mirrored and make it appear as if Patty is walking downstream when in fact she is walking upstream along Bluff Creek. In this view, her right breast, shown mirror to appear on the left, and even the areola and nipple can be seen in the filtered images. Also, the first frame when filtered shows the back of the hand well, with its long fingers, and even the fingernails can be partially detected. In the 4 frames from the very initial part of the PG film showing her side, you will note a black mass in the area of her hip. Please note the color of the shadowed areas of her body, such as the armpit, are more of a brownish red color and not a dark black. Also note the black mass on her hip does not appear to resemble the colors of the background dark shadowed areas either. The black mass on her hip appears to obscure part of her thigh and knee area, both of which seem like they should not be in a shadow at all. The black mass also seems to extend slightly under her butt cheek. It seems the black mass is most definitely not part of the background colors or a shadow from her own body. Filtering the images and enlarging the area of the black mass does seem to show what could be the face of an infant, although no doubt pareidolia could easily explain this appearance given the level of image filtering and graininess. The head appears to be facing slightly to the infant's left, showing its right ear. The right hand fingers and thumb appear to be visible and the infant's fingernails can be seen as well. The mouth appears to have a slight red or pinkish hue to the lips. The white almost cotton-like substances seen in the black mass area seems very similar to the images M.K. Davis pointed out in his commentary on the object on Patty's left side. I wonder if it is a padding material in a carrying sling for the infant and suspended by the lanyard. In one of the filtered images that I did not include in this video, the lanyard appeared as if it had a braided appearance and possibly it is constructed from Patty's own hair. My skills at image filtering to enhance photo details are amateur level. It is my hope someone with greater skills, such as M.K. Davis, can pick up where this analysis leaves off and provide further image enhancement and confirmation that the black mass on Patty's hip is indeed an infant, as I strongly suspect. The more I study it, the more convinced I have become. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this video interesting.
So
it's very interesting, and there's another one where it actually shows when she's running, it pokes his head up out of the bushes and comes back down.
So there's
a brief moment.
Right. There's a ton of stories. There's a story recently of a little kid who got went missing and said that the bear took him to protect him. The bear protected him.
Yeah.
Bigfoot.
Could be. Again, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and you've got all these stories. Steve likes to tell the story about the little Martin boy, because it was very close to him. He was around the same age. He remembers when it happened. He was in the same area. He remembers looking for him. Like, I'm going to find him. Almost like Stand By Me, that went look for the kid picking blueberries, the train, and then there was the family Martin who was on the trip. And Steve told better than I can, that they found out after the fact that they saw a hairy man going up the mountain carrying a small boy wearing a flannel shirt or something like that, or a small person wearing a flannel shirt, which is what this kid was wearing. Didn't tell him until after the fact. A couple days, everything was mishmash and chaotic, and just different things. Again, if one is real, something's happening. Why are they coming in so much now? Is it because the internet and more people talking and things like that? Okay, then what does that tell you about the past? How many hunters in the past in Tennessee in the 1800s saw them and never said a word? Okay, how many people saw them, for whatever, pick a decade, and never said anything because they knew damn well people were going to think they were crazy, and they just didn't. They just put it out of their mind. Or they
listened to the legends that were taught by their elders. Don't go in the woods because there's a woodbucker. Don't do this because whatever. Right. Yes, some of these creatures do, you want to call it kidnap people. They take them.
Yep, I think so.
And some of them may eat
take our women.
Right.
I heard this one old elder say
that has happened. They've taken the women, and there may be procreation taking place, and they're not leaving, or whatever. That we don't know what the process is.
Not all.
No, but
there's different kinds. So just like ghosts, just like anything, there's different kinds.
And some may be saved by these creatures. There's so many stories of little kids. One girl, she used to go back someplace in, I'm going to say near Yellowstone or whatever it is, constantly going back. This is where her summers were. And she talked about the hairy girl that she used to see. And she was playing with the hairy girl, and they used to braid each other's hair.
Strange.
Okay?
And I'll tell you,
hairy girl is a Bigfoot.
Yeah. And
she knows it.
If I didn't see, I believed before, because I always believed the Lord. Like I said, I was 8 and I was already catching stuff, and I was in all of that in the early 70s with what's his name, with the Chariots of the Gods, and Believe It or Not and all this other stuff. You know, I was there for all that, and I was never doubted for a moment that they existed. It's just recently that I'm noticing the differential between them and the ones that come in and out of the portals that are a little bit more angry. They don't seem to hang around a lot and stay. I think that they stay in places now, I'm finding out, where there seems to be a lot of aggression and a lot of things going down. But does that mean they did the bad things? Or is that human beings doing bad things and are being drawn there for some reason to protect that area? I don't know. You're going to hear a lot about Indian mounds and them being around a lot of Indian mounds. Okay, well, there's Indian mounds everywhere. My point is it's all somehow connected. These things are the interdimensional walkers, the time jumpers, the portal, the people that are coming in and out of portals. Again, it's amazing to me to see all this and go, it really does all come down to frequency, consciousness. What energy are you emitting? What is your intent? And it all seems to go together. And again, I'm going to show you a picture that comes very close to when Bryan mentioned, and I didn't draw this, but I was looking through doing a show like this for something a couple years ago, and I came across this and I was stopped in my tracks. This is the face I saw. I cannot speak for as the knees down or the tail. I never saw that because, again, I saw it before the car got there and then through the window as I passed. And then I was on trying to get my child out of the harm's way. So it was like full tilt boogie after that. But here's the face I saw with a big lip.
Keep it up because my machine takes forever to.
Does it? So if this little face had that big lip, just really huge, bigger than what you think, 3-4 times bigger than you would think, and just down and glistening gray. And when I looked at the Patterson film, and you try to go back because it's been rebroadcast so many times that it loses its each time the grade gets different and different. I went back and I've tried to find the best I could, and I saw the bottom of the feet as it walked by. And it's that same type of gray. It's that same. In mine, you could see more of his belly, and it was very much like an elephant skin would look.
That kind elephant skin was perfect. It's perfect analogy to what their skins kind of look and feels like. Lighter or darker elephant skin.
Yeah. And it was very, and it was, it wasn't very weathered, because I'm guessing this was probably I felt it was a lost, like a teenager. I wasn't getting little baby, like scared and confused. I was getting more of a, I'm in trouble. I'm lost. I shouldn't be here. I'm getting that. Where am I? What's going on? And again, I'm the crazy bitch that if I was alone in that car, I probably gave him a ride. You know what I mean? It's
that
like,
where you need to go. More than you would have known.
I'm just saying I'm that person, because look, something hurt in the woods or something like that. And again, when you've got that, you can feel that coming in. I could see doing something like an offering, the apple on the log or something like that. I would have no problem with that, because I think it would read my intent. It would know that
have this vision of you going.
I have my eye on it.
With me now, Sloth. Come on.
Your mama's out there somewhere. It would just be like, what I would have done? I swear. What I would have done is just stood there. I would have howled. I would have howled and whistled and like, he's here. And I would have put that vibe out into the air. He's right here. He's safe. Come get him. And I would have backed off slowly back into my car. And you know what? She would have understood.
She would have been pissed, but she would have been understood.
She would have understood, because she would have read that intent. She would have done the same thing I did. Danger for my child. And she would have understood that energy. And I think I would have been fine. But of course, I could have been, a dead blob on the street too. We'll never. But you wouldn't have heard the story that way.
Well, I'll tell you.
So, Bryan, thank you so much for coming in here, my friend.
Take it.
I mean, such a.
I don't want to start with anybody, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I'm just giving you my personal opinion,
right,
from my experience. So, if you don't believe, don't believe. I'm not. I don't convince people anymore.
And again, that's the thing. When I started doing like Facebook groups and stuff like that, and people would put up pictures, and I'd tell people, and you could still do that on the group. But somebody would get something and they would think that they, whatever, it could have been anything, an orb, a figure, or something. And it's such a hard thing to go over stuff like that. I mean, if that's your gig, I know people in the Black Vault You know them too, Brian.
Yeah.
That this is their whole time. This is their side job. What they do, they go through and they, do all the technical things you could do and run in a photograph through tin eye and seeing when it was on the internet first. And is it a Photoshop? Is it got layers? I mean, we did that with somebody's birth certificate not too long ago, and it still holds true that it's a forgery fake, and you're going to hear that coming up soon.
That'll come up soon.
I'll tell you right now, the damn font that they used on that son of a bitch wasn't even invented to 20 years later. So look, they're not only crooks and criminals, they're sloppy
really
at it. They're really sloppy at it. And I'll tell you something else. There's somebody else just came up, and if you know, you know, and if you don't, I'm not going to say it. But there is a British dude who I'm not even a big fan of, but I don't like anybody getting railroaded, that happens to have a big podcast that's saying a lot of truth. And again, I don't agree with everything he says. That's not the point. The point is this: right is right, wrong is wrong. And then they come out and they try to attack you, and they throw all this information. They try to hit you in the emotion button. Okay. So you're not thinking, oh my God, that poor woman, she was raped and she was 25 years ago. First. Look at the facts. Back away from the emotion. Look at the facts. The letters, you can see where they were cut and pasted. This is the evidence they're showing in the paper now. Okay. You can see the shit's been cut and pasted. You can pixelate that bitch. That's not even the same font. There's no timestamps on it. But idiots are going to look at that and they're going to go, you know what? I believe her. I believe it. No, they are railroading this person. I'm not saying they never did anything bad. I'm saying this particular thing they're showing. Look at the evidence. Discern it through your filters, just like the paranormal.
And then you got to understand something. They give you the warning, the sexual battery, blah, blah, blah. What's going on right now is the warning. And if you keep that crap up, the next step is pedophilia.
Yep. And they'll put it on your computer.
Yep.
And then they'll haul you off 3 o'clock in the morning, kick in your door and everything else. Yet, tell me the last time you heard of that agency that's doing that, helping a child that said that they were trafficked go to these people and nothing is done to the people, even though they had the evidence. Why is that happening? Because that's what we deal a lot with. No, but that's why we deal with a lot of things too. This is true crime, and you've got a survivor of some kind of human trafficking or something like that. They come and they tell you, no, they had all the information for 20 years. They did nothing. Ask yourself why that is and why that needs to change. And I think benevolent beings, I'm not saying all Bigfoot or Sasquatch are. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's different ones. But why are the ones that are coming through trying to maintain nature coming through now and trying to talk to people who will listen to them? And why are native cultures still to this day treating it like I showed you in this video? So if there's something that they can teach us on how to get back to us and what we really are, I think that needs to be paid attention to. And I think we need to be able to discern that there are different beings in different groups, just like Cheyenne dog soldiers were massive warriors. And then they'd come back and they would treat children with the most gentle kindness and cherish their people and cherish nature and only collect 1/3 of an herb because they knew they had to leave 1/3 to the weather and, natural things that are going to happen. And maybe that other third would be there next time they wanted to harvest it. And if we don't take care of each other like that, what's going to happen? And that's what greed does. And we're trying to take our consciousness and our light workers back home to the light. And that's how we're supposed to be existing now, in love and the love frequency and the light frequency. And when you can see how all this is interconnected, you can't deny that there's something bigger, some bigger energy out there that's just striving to keep the lights on. We're going to keep them on here for you. Brian, I love you, my brother. Where can we see you coming up? What do you got going on? Halloween. This is Halloween.
I mean, I got my Bigfoot costume Halloween. I have to go to Fright Night because my daughter and boyfriend want to go.
Nice.
Planning on going, but let me tell you something, folks. When you go to Fright Night or one of those like haunted houses, protect yourself before you go in. There are sources for great.
There's people in there.
Crap. Not only people, but spirits. But
stuff is real, babe. Keep your lights on.
I did a whole show for this other person, Midnight Alchemy out of the West Coast. And apparently it's a two-parter, and it's all like conspiracy theory, which I'm kind of like trying to pull myself away from it because people will believe what they want to believe, but I just don't need any problems at this point.
Yep.
But other than that,
you, my friend.
It's every Wednesday, 8:01 p.m. Eastern.
Yep. Tell those guys I want to be on their show, man.
Oh, I'm gonna hook you up with.
Tell them, get on the show. Tell them I got ghosts.
Yeah, no, we got a bunch of people for you, so I'll put the connections later.
You know, and listen, get the book. You know, if you haven't read the book, We Are All Children in the Wilderness of the Wildlife. We're all children in the wilderness of the afterlife. A guided tour through haunted life. That's my book. I wrote it with Steve Stockton. Comes in with commentaries after. There are some great stories in there. There are stories that Mr. Bowden is involved in, kind of woven all through there, and just so many different things. But basically, experiences that I had, how I looked at them. I tried to be open and honest. Every word you struggle over.
Somehow.
Yes, absolutely. I gotta get some more printed. I'm telling you.
Well,
so we're gonna do it. We're getting organized. We're getting sorted.
She needs to get Cabin 22 going right now.
Yeah, it's almost there. I'm on the 5th chapter, man. I'm plugging away. Just the quotes alone are killing me because I have to go back and write it as a book now because I did it as a narration. So it's still different. So it's just
trying to find a program that'll.
But we are going to do that, Bryan. I invite you to pick a night and come on. I would love you to be on the night that we tell the story, your story, and we're going to listen to that and see. And I know it's so much fun, but it's 6 consecutive nights we do right up until Hell Night because that's when the story crescendos and their Hell Night. On Halloween night on the mountain. So be here for that. It's a great story. And every time you listen to it, you pick out something different. And I think after this year, you're really going to see a lot of different layers to this story. So I hope you'll be there for it. We'll do Mrs. McGee's moonshine, apple pie moonshine, and we'll do the caramel bacon popcorn. I love you all. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Bryan, for coming in.
Pleasure.
There you have it. Your double header 3-hour tour through Bigfoot land. I think we knocked it out of the park, Shug.
Yep.
I love you, my brother. Go in peace and my love to the fam. Okay?
Yep.
Good night, everybody. Don't forget to hit that like on the way out. It really helps me, guys. And comment on the videos. Thank you so much. Good night. I love you. Be kind to Bigfoot.